All right, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the People's House for the City Council Public Hearing Work Session of November the 13th. The clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Brian Mock.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Jimmy First.
Here.
Councilmember John Mesa.
Here.
Councilmember Leslie Robson. Here. Councilmember Paul Stovall. Councilmember Elmer Vythe.
Present.
All right, we'll need approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
On a motion and a second to approve the agenda as submitted. Any further discussion? All in favor? That is unanimous. All right, I don't think we have announcements and presentations this evening. We'll move right on down to the public hearing portion of this meeting. I'll read the rules of order for the public hearing for zoning matters. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request the parcels of property which are subject to the zoning proposal be identified and read. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation to be made part of the record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning the zoning decision. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. The presentation times may not be reduced, but may be extended by majority vote, provided they are expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak must come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk. Please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. This is our public hearing. This is where folks have an opportunity to express their thoughts and concerns prior to our Tuesday work general meeting. And also, this is a monologue, not a dialogue, so these items do come up later on in the agenda. Council may have questions at that time, so please, if you're inclined, stick around for council questions. And we'll move right on into PZ 2025-1324. This is 5039 Buford Highway.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Matt Adams, Director of Planning and Development Department for the City of Chamblee. So I passed around a letter we received from the applicant on this application after your packet was created. Didn't make it in time to get into there, but I wanted to make sure that you had that. So this is PZ 2025-1324. This project involves the construction of 6 gas pumps, a freestanding canopy for a gas station with a existing commercial use on the site. So the request before you tonight for consideration is 5 variances and 10 waivers to allow this gas pump with canopy and convenience store use to occur. So the variances requested are to exceed the maximum percentage of 80% impervious surface area to provide 88.92% impervious surface area, so an increase from 80% to 88.92%. To allow an accessory structure to not be subordinate in dimensional aspects to the primary structure, to locate a commercial dumpster in the street side yard 5 feet from Chamblee-Dunwoody Road where otherwise prohibited, to allow gasoline fuel dispenser structures and associated vehicular services between a building and the street along Chamblee-Dunwoody Road, to locate off-street surface parking between the principal building and the street where otherwise prohibited, to reduce the landscape zone from a range of 10 feet to 16 feet along Buford Highway, and reduce the sidewalk clear zone by reducing the sidewalk from 10 feet to 5 feet, and to reduce the supplemental zone from a range of between 10 to 15 feet to 0 feet, and a waiver along Chamblee-Dunwoody Road to increase the landscape zone from 5 feet required to 7.9 feet proposed, and to reduce the sidewalk clear zone from 10 feet required to 0 feet proposed, and to reduce the supplemental zone from a range between 10 to 15 feet to 0 feet. Along Shallowford Road, there's a request to increase the landscape zone from 7 feet to 7.2 feet, to reduce the sidewalk clear zone from 5 feet to 0 feet, and to reduce the supplemental zone from between 10 to 15 feet to 0 feet. Another waiver to allow a motor vehicle related use on the ground floor of a storefront street Another waiver to allow motor vehicle use on the ground floor of a storefront street. It is listed in two different parts of the code. We need to have two variances there. A variance to not meet the landscape design standards and to maintain existing landscape zone plantings, and a waiver to maintain the existing parking configuration and not provide parking islands for every 10 parking spaces. A waiver rather, to not separate vehicles from the supplemental zone by a strip of land at least 10 feet wide. Waiver to maintain the existing parking configuration, to not provide a 5-foot grass strip with curb for head-to-head parking, and to reduce the tree density requirement from 100 inches diameter at breast height, which is the required amount, to the provided amount of tree canopy already on the site. So you can see here, this is the site in question. It is bordered on 3 sides by road. On the south, that is Chambly Dunwoody Road. To the west, that is Buford Highway, and then to the east, that is Shallowford Road, just before the edge of the city of Chambly limits. These next couple of photographs show photographs of the site. This is a photograph taken from Chambly Dunwoody Road towards the existing liquor store in that location. These are along the various street frontages. The left is along Buford Highway and the right is along Shallowford Road. More street frontage photographs. On the right, that is a curb cut that is proposed for closure along Chambly Dunwoody Road. And the other is a sort of obverse view of the property along Chambly Dunwoody. You can see here the existing conditions of the site on this site plan. Very much, if you go down there, this looks exactly like it does today, as one would expect for an existing site plan. This is the proposed configuration. You'll note the area that is marked in yellow is the subject of this project. That is where the fuel dispensers will be going, or are proposed to be going, rather. You'll note here a couple of different things about the site. Because it is landlocked on 3 sides, there is nowhere on this site where a compliant motor vehicle use could go. The way the staff looked at this application was what of the requested action items was the fault of the site that otherwise would prohibit any sort of compliant project on the site, and which are preferences, that sort of what's the hardship conversation. Our analysis found that the use-based requests, those that are related to the motor vehicle use, those were a hardship. They could not occur anywhere on this site given the way that it is comprised, whereas the streetscape requests were not a hardship. It was a preference, rather, or a desire not to meet the code. Here you'll see the canopy elevations, another issue where the height of these canopies is not the fault of the site, so we did not recommend support of those. You'll see here the enclosure of the dumpster that is proposed. You'll note in our recommendations we do not have conditions related to the enclosure because the enclosure is otherwise compliant, just absent the location of it. So our recommendation at this time is approval of variances 3, 4, 5, and waivers 4 and 5. Those are the use-based requests, and denial of variances 1 and 2, and waivers 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We do have recommended conditions. The development shall be constructed in substantial conformity with the site plan and elevations received by the Planning and Development Department on September 30th, with any revisions required by the conditions of approval and reviewed and approved by the Planning and Development Director. And I did lie earlier, there is a condition related to the construction of the enclosure. So with that, I will yield the remainder of my time for any public comment.
All right, anyone wishing to speak in favor of this item? You come on up to the microphone, give us your name and address.
My name is Rajnikant Didi, and he's Mr. Amin. I'm the owner of the property. As you saw, actually, I'm in this city almost for 20 years. Down the street, which is Chevron, I'm managing Chevron over there. From these 20 years, I did a great job over there. As I can say, my station is like a landmark for the neighborhood over there, and we were serving the neighborhood for 20 years. Initially, when we came over there, my property tax and everything was only 10,000. Now it is doubled up to 20,000. And basically I'm trying to explain, like, my way of saying is, if you give me the chance to do something over here, the building can be done a lot better. And Amoco is a brand which we're requesting them to come over there, which will become another landmark for the city. And I promise I can make a lot better than that one. And the building really needs some work need to be done. The building is not been touched for like 30 years. So I just bought this property like 2 years before, and we had started working. And my team member, Mr. Amin, also helping me out. And as we presented everything, so please help me out. I think I can prove myself. Mr. Amin, you want to?
Yeah, just we've been working. My name is Amin Chagani, by the way. I live in 1624 Chelsea Falls Lane, Swanee. We've been working with the city planners for last almost over 6 months closely. And we've been just providing them all the information they need to make them satisfied that the project is viable and suitable for the city. And if mayor and council have any questions that you feel like you need answered, or you need more information like any other studies that need to be present, so we will willing to work on that to make you guys can make an informative decision.
Thank you. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, we'll move on down to the next item. This is PZ 2025-1464. This is Villa Esta Drive.
Hello again. So the subject of this application is one waiver request that is to allow an increase in the amount of permitted number of curb cuts for a single frontage property with less than 400 feet of frontage from 1 to 2. You'll see here the existing conditions of the lot. This project is the subject of a code enforcement case. The extra portion of driveway that is shown in the rightmost photograph was added without proper permits. I would note that in the application there is much talk of neighboring properties that have a similar driveway configuration. City staff has been able to confirm that the majority of those, if not all, we haven't been able to confirm all of them, but the majority at least, were installed before the city annexed those properties into the city. So they were permitted in unincorporated DeKalb or were not permitted, as the case may have been. So you'll see here the site plan showing much the same as the previous photographs. The required amount of curb cuts per property is determined by frontage. You are allowed one curb cut for every 400 feet of frontage. Over 400 feet, you're allowed an additional one. If you have more than one frontage, you're allowed more than one curb cut. In this case, they have approximately 100 feet of frontage along the drive there. So in this case, they would need a variance. Staff found that the arguments did not meet the threshold for approving a variance, so we are recommending denial of the waiver request. Sorry, I said variance. This is a waiver.
Thank you, Matt. I'm going to go with as the case may have been. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? In favor? If you'll give us your name and address.
My name is Maria Cortez Bliss, and my address is 3012 Villa Esta Drive, Chamblee, Georgia, 30341. Yeah, I understand, I made a mistake, by not knowing that I needed to get the permit before I did it. And pretty much, one of the reasons that I did too, it was because the street was so narrow, and you see cars parked everywhere. And then I have a 95-year-old mother that I need to carry practically, going up and down. And I thought, well, if I do the driveway and kind of park near the house, it would be much easier for, her to get in the house and for do the accommodations. And, I mean, I wish I can, and have known that I needed to do the permit, because I would have never done it without the permit. I just did not know that, and by the time I did it, you know, I did it mostly, it was to help the neighborhood, the look of the street, and the look of the houses, and then my mother is the reason, you know, she's 95 years old, and she lives with me, and it was too hard, you know, for her to walk, so that's why I did that, the driveway the way I did it.
Anything else?
I just wish I can, you know, there is any possible way that you guys can waive that and not be a denial on it like that, you know. I don't have to remove it, it's gonna cost me tons of money to remove it once I pay for it.
Okay, anyone else here wishing to speak in favor?
My name is Paola Chavarro, and I'm the owner of 4643 Beaufort Drive. And the Villa Esta Street is directly behind my building. And that street is always full of cars, and I think that the driveway, the way it's constructed now, really helps to not have so many cars on the street. Sometimes it's really difficult to go by because people don't have spaces in the driveways to park. So having that is not only, it looks better, but it's very useful. So it gives more space for cars coming and going.
Thank you. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Come on back up. Come on back up. Sure. Okay, I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of that. Okay, thank you. All right. No opposition. We'll move down to PZ 2025-1529. This is 5525 Peachtree Boulevard.
Okay, so the subject of this application involves the demolition of a portion of an existing automobile dealership. This is the Curry Honda, the corner of Peachtree Boulevard and Broad Street. There will be a new showroom area that is installed there, new signage, new vehicle display areas, et cetera. And there are 24 variances and 12 waivers requested as part of this. Just with the mayor and council's permission, I won't read all of these due to the amount. I'll
Please.
just pause on each of these. Thank you for allowing me to save my voice. So this is the site. You'll see here a view along Peachtree Boulevard. The building is to the right, and then Peachtree Boulevard is to the left. More views from the street and site. This is the view along Broad Street. You'll note there a fence, which is the subject of some of the variances that are being requested. More views of the interior of the site. And then here is an overall site plan, but we're going to blow up a portion of that down in the lower right corner. This is the area where the work in question would be taking place, in the area where the variances and waivers would be triggered, or the need for them would be triggered, rather. So the argument that the applicant has made is based on several factors, both the size and topography of the site, the availability of land to redevelop to the streetscape standards along Broad Street, The previous work that was done on the site some time ago with other work that was done to improve the streetscape, as well as the existence of non-conforming signs that they wish to continue. So you'll see here where they are providing their tree canopy coverage calculations, the trees that will be added to the site up there on the top left. This is the front elevation of the property. You can see here this would be heavily fenestrated along Peachtree Boulevard. Here are some side elevations. The existing signage on the site, several of the variance and waiver requests have to do with the interior lighting of the signs, and they've provided several examples of existing internally illuminated signs along Peachtree Boulevard. There are the signs that are proposed as part of this project, and then staff's recommendation. Of these, we are recommending denial of variances 1, 2, 3, and waiver 22. Those have to do with the fence, and based on conversations with the applicant, we understand that they are planning on installing compliant fencing on the site and thereby removing the need for those variances and waivers. And we are recommending approval of all other variances and waivers that are proposed.
Thank you, Matt. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Good evening.
Hi, my name's Joe Fisher. My address is 979 Woodlawn Avenue in Des Plaines, Illinois. I am the project architect here, representing for Lithia Motors. I'm not sure if it's available. I sent Tiffany and her team, there it is, a nice little rendering package. So, yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to come up here and present, and for everyone being in attendance. We just wanted to basically share the project and show what we're planning on doing. So what you had seen there was kind of our pretty rendering of the project, but it's going a little fast. Yeah, so there's the existing
You
plan.
should have a clicker on the dais, is that, or the stand, yeah.
There we go. So here we have the existing site plan and an aerial view of the project. A little bit of backstory, Lithia is going through a project where they're renovating a lot of their Honda dealerships, basically modernizing them, upgrading them, providing that new, heavily fenestrated storefront and a nice big blue canopy over it. So, it'll kind of fit right into the PUD and the UDO aspect of just kind of really modernizing or just updating Peachtree Boulevard. So you'll see in future slides what the existing store looks like, and, this is just a massive improvement. So here we have the existing site, and basically on the lower right, you can see the demolition area. It's a pretty small scope. We're tearing out the existing paving around the customer parking, putting in new permeable pavers, and then we're tearing out this storefront and the showroom and the offices and replacing that. The other demolition is just small scope. It's basically just replacing some of the parking spaces with new planters, again, to meet the PUD requirements, more trees, more landscaping. So the next slide is just the overall, which you've kind of seen on the top left. You can see it's a massive site. About 90% of the parking spaces are dedicated to inventory, service, used vehicles. Then the last 10% is employee and customer parking. On the parcel plan you see on the right, that's kind of where we worked with Joel, the city's arborist, to kind of clarify our canopy coverage. We're getting an official tree survey done in the coming weeks, just to make sure our numbers are correct. And if there are any variances or if we're less than below our proposed amount, then we will donate into the city's tree fund. And then here's just an enlarged plan of the paving. So here you can see the extent of the permeable pavers. We have new vehicle display pads, just an overall upgrade to the site. And then you'll see some existing photos. And then those are the landscaping proposed that we're putting the planters in between each vehicle. And again, that comes directly from the PUD. And then here we have some comparisons of our existing building on the lower portion and then our new building, proposed building on the top. So we're not changing the height overall, especially for the service building. But you can see the canopy, the columns in between, which are existing structural columns that we're keeping. So little things that we're trying to keep, but overall just upgrade. And then on the right side is a vehicle delivery area. It's partially enclosed. Right now it's just covered with a canopy, but we're proposing some storefront and just some upgrades there. And then another view off to the side. You can't quite see the vehicles that we had in our nice rendering at the beginning, but the vehicle delivery is basically right out in front, and it'll stay that way. But we're getting rid of that kind of that ugly blue turret thing in the middle. There's a wavy canopy that's going away. And then a view from the other side. We're getting rid of those ramps. Basically, we'll have a zero curb situation for our ADA spots. We're getting rid of the railings. This will be a much more accessible space. You won't have these limited spots where you have to walk up to the building entry. And so this is a photo of a completed Honda project. This isn't our project, but we wanted to show that this is a tried and true product. We have built this before. This photo doesn't have the permeable paver, so if anything, ours will be an upgrade. And yeah, I know Matt spoke to the variances 1, 2, and 3 about the fence, and yeah, we would like to remove the existing wood fence and install a metal fence. We're hoping we can keep the stone piers in between, and then just put the metal fence between those stone piers. And then the other one that was rejected was, I believe, providing like safe raised access paths from vehicle parking spots to the building entries. We're definitely doing that for the customer and the employee parking spots, and we'll work with Tiffany in the city and just clarify what exactly that means for the other, 600 spots in the back. It's just a little unclear about how, we create those raised platforms going through the parking lots. But again, happy to work with y'all and make sure that, we're not skipping any loopholes or anything like that. So overall, thank you for your time, and appreciate everything.
All right, anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Very good. This takes us down to PZ 2025-1564. This is 1871 Chamblee Tucker Road.
So the subject of this application is two variances related to on-site, ground level miscellaneous signs. There we go. So the two variances, first one is to exceed the maximum allowed height of miscellaneous ground signs. The other one is to exceed the maximum number of miscellaneous ground signs on a commercial property. So this is the site. It is the Walmart on Chamblee Tucker Road. These are the signs in question. They are related to a new pickup area. You could see here the site plan as it is proposed. The requirement is that the ordinance allows for one ground level miscellaneous sign per entry. This property has 2 entries off of Chamblee Dunwoody, so it is allowed 2 of those signs. They have constructed 3. These are signs that do not require a permit otherwise, but in a inspection it was found that they were non-conforming. So you'll note here the area sort of between that green line and the mass of the building is where the pickup area is. That is a former garden area that has been repurposed. Staff found that in the application there was not sufficient evidence to show that the pickup location was required to be in that area. Therefore, there was no hardship that was the cause of the site, rather a preference of location. So we are recommending denial of both variance requests.
Thank you, Matt. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Come on up. How are you?
Well,
Good.
My name is David Sublett, address 11475 Great Oaks Way, Alpharetta, Georgia. I'm here on behalf of Bowman Consulting Group, who is representing Walmart in turn. We're asking you to consider these variances, and I think we might have had a few slides pulled up, but if not, we can go back to that site plan we were just looking at. Let's see. I want to specifically point out that if you've ever been to this Walmart, if you're coming in from the southern entrance off of Chamblee Tucker Road, that as you're coming down, you're faced with a couple of options. The first of which is to turn in towards the front of the Walmart. The second is to come down beside the Walmart and turn into the parking deck. And the final is to come on the left and go down towards the back of the building. And this is where the turn-in and access for online pickup and delivery is, but it's also where the trucks will be located for pickup and delivery for the store itself. So one of the things we'll ask you to consider is if you ever have gone down there, it is not at all immediately obvious which way you ought to turn based on the signs and their placement without some additional signage that they could find their way to this the first time. So what we have happening here is people turning down and going into the parking deck or ending up in the back of the Walmart instead of in the online pickup and delivery area. And it's not obvious with the satellite imagery here, but there's not a second exit on the other side of that Walmart. So they have to complete a three-point turn or something. There can be big trucks back there, so there's a bit of a safety issue for the store as well. And I think that is the thrust of the matter. Thank you.
Very good, thank you, sir. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone here wishing to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, we'll move on down to the final public hearing item. This is PZ 2025-1588. This is 3535 Broad Street.
Subject to this application is a development and community impact with 64 concurrent variances and 12 waivers. This would be a construction of 352,000 square feet of multifamily, 62,000 square feet of commercial buildings, 7-level parking garage, new streetscapes along Broad Street, Peachtree Road, Ingersoll Rand Drive, and Irvindale Drive. So rather than reading through each of these, I'll beg the council's indulgence to just pause on each of the slides.
Sir?
Read all of them.
Yes.
I got
Very
nowhere to
well.
be tonight. Go ahead. Just to be clear, that was a joke.
All right, thank you for that. Instead of wasting my voice, I now have carpal tunnel. So you see the site here. It is bordered on 4 sides by right-of-way. Thus is sort of the thrust of the hardship with this site. There are also some topography concerns sloping from the northeast to the southwest, or sorry, the northwest to the southeast, rather, that play into this slightly. These are photographs of the property taken from the north facing south. You can see there some of the topographical changes. It is not a flat site throughout its entirety. And here are more photographs to show that, one of them just taken outside on City Hall's front porch. More photographs here showing existing conditions. You note one of the largest grade changes due to a long since abandoned retaining wall, and some photographs of the warehouse along Ingersoll Rand Drive. So here's the site. It is comprised of several properties that will be consolidated into one as part of this project. You'll see here the proposed site plan. The multifamily structure does wrap the garage that is proposed over on the eastern side of the site. Down towards the south, there is more multifamily wrapping a multifamily amenity area, so pools and hangout areas and whatnot. Over towards the west, you'll see several of the commercial structures there. There are a total of 4 commercial structures that are proposed for this site, in addition to the multifamily structures. And then in the center, there is a sort of shared plaza green area. These are some of the roadway sections. I did not give all of the roadway sections that were provided for this, just the 2 that seemed the most pertinent, that being Broad Street and Peachtree Road. Here you'll see the landscape plan. They are requesting waivers from the requirement for some of the street tree spacing requirements on Broad Street and Ingersoll Rand Drive. However, staff felt that the provided tree cover more than made up for that. Here are some of the multifamily elevations, the public-facing portions of them, I should say. We did not include the interior-facing portions in this presentation. Here are perspectives of the multifamily structure, which do a far better job of explaining how folks would experience the site. Elevations are very much a technical document, but this is more of an experiential one. more multifamily perspectives. This is taken from the interior of the site in that sort of community green area. These are perspective drawings of the retail and commercial buildings. So this is building 100. This is building 200. This was revised after the DRB meeting. The DRB had some comments regarding the shade structure that you see in the middle of the site. And these are the revised drawings that were provided to us. This is one of the retail buildings towards the interior of the site with a sort of industrial aesthetic roof. And then building 400, which will be along the south side of the property. So, of these, staff is recommending denial of variances 1, 2, 3, 13, 24, 25, 46, 47, 56, 58, and waivers 1, 3, and 11, and approval of the remaining variances and waivers. This application, again, was a sort of a discussion among staff about what of these variances and waivers are the fault of the site, what are preferences, and what are related to cost concerns, which, as the council knows, is not a factor that is allowed to enter into this calculus. Of those, we determined that there were some that were clear preferences, but the overwhelming majority were the fault of the site. The number of variances and waivers is sort of indicative of the complexity of this project. The UDO and the PUD do not anticipate these properties being developed in conjunction. They anticipate each of these sites being developed one at a time, gradually over time, not this level of intensity coming in at once. However, when you combine all of them together, certain parts of the code don't play well with each other, such as certain requirements are triggered if you can physically see the structure from the right-of-way rather than just its frontage along the right-of-way, things like that. So when it all becomes one site, those sort of view sheds change, and it creates a more difficult site to work with. So again, the staff report does a far better job than I'm able to do, sort of succinctly explaining our analysis there. So please refer to that if you have any questions regarding our analysis, and I stand ready for any questions you may have later.
Thank you, Matt. All right, anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Come on up. Give us your name and address.
Hello, my name is T.R. Clausen. Address is 2512 Ridgewood Road Northwest. I'm here, and also, I guess we'll start off. Thank you guys for all the efforts to date on this doozy of a project. Matt, you really worded everything beautifully in your summary, so thank you for taking a lot of that responsibility away from me right now. But we're here with our entire design team. So my name again, T.R. Clausen. I represent Greystar Development. We will serve as the master developer for this project, and we've linked arms with Vantage Realty, who will really kind of headway the retail component of this project. We've got the Dwell design team, who's going to be the multifamily architect, and then Linewaite is going to be the retail architect, and we also have Core, who's going to serve as the landscape architect, and then we have the Kimley Horn team here as well. They're the civil engineer on the project, so we are all here happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. But diving really, I guess, high end to this project, this has been a vision that the city and the DDA have had for a while. There is a very robust RFP process, which Vantage really tapped us, Greystar. We were fortunate to win that opportunity. So just want everyone here to know that we are doing our absolute best to create a true placemaking environment for the city, and for the residents and the future residents of the city, so that what we do across the street is going to serve as the true epicenter and crown jewel of Chamblee. We also want to try to emulate something that I think a lot of you guys have gone to downtown Duluth and other major city centers around the Metroplex that is really just catalyst for those developments in those towns. So trying to do something similar here. As you all know, there's been a ton of discussions, efforts, and feedback that we have obtained from the community, from all of you in this room. So with all that said, I know the length of the list of the variances and waivers is probably record-setting here. 74 total. And with all that said, with all the work and the feedback that we've gotten, we feel that everything, all 74, are desperately needed in order to carry out the true vision for this project and to not cannibalize the final product. So please, I'll end with that. Just take all of that in mind whenever you're making your final decisions here. We're honored to be in front of you. We're honored to deliver a project like this. And looking forward to working with everyone in this room to make this vision come to light. Thank you.
Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? All right, seeing none, we'll move on down to the other agenda items. Under approval of minutes on Tuesday, we have 3 sets of minutes. Did anyone see any corrections? All right. Under new business this evening, we have first up the Sproul Center for the Arts, which is the Old City Hall use proposal.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going to kick this off really quickly, but we also have a presentation from some folks from Sproul Center for the Arts. And so as you know, our Old City Hall is currently being used as offices for our IT staff and facility staff, as well as housing some additional storage. There are no current plans to redevelop the space for any specified use at this time. And as we bring our new facilities online with our new Public Works building and our new Parks and Recreation facility over at Dresden, it is my intention to relocate our staff from that building back into this building. And so we have been in discussions with Sproul Center for the Arts about a proposed use of the space, the Old City Hall space, and converting it into Sproul Studios, which they will share more information about this evening. So I would like to invite them to come up and present to you all.
Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Thank you for having us. I'm Alan Mothner. I'm the CEO of the Sproul Center for the Arts. Let me introduce Steve Dollinger. He's the president of our board of directors. We too are honored to be here in front of you today. We're really excited about this opportunity to do what we do best, and that's bring arts into the community. We're thrilled about the opportunity to activate this space and make it something that's vibrant for Chamblee and helps to bring tourism and economic vitality to the area. Kristen, do I just tap? Okay. So as Kristen mentioned, wrong way. Thank you. As Kristen mentioned, we are the Sproul Center for the Arts. We are actually celebrating our 50th year this year as a nonprofit arts and culture center formed in 1975. In Dunwoody, we have 2 locations. We have our Sproul Education Center, which is approximately 20,000 square feet that we partner with the city of Dunwoody to promote the arts through classes, education, programming, community events, et cetera. And then we have a second facility on Astro Dunwoody Road in Dunwoody, which is the gallery. It is former property of the Sproul family, of which we derive our name, that was deeded to the nonprofit and became part of the overall nonprofit programming. Most recently, our strategic plan in 2024 shaped our vision for not only this project, but for our long-term growth. And that is based on an overall premise of becoming a community center that's based on the arts. That's a slight change from where we've been in the past, where we were an arts center that was incorporated into our community. The idea of being a true community center throughout the region is part of the reason why we're here before you today. The Sproul Gallery in particular, which will have oversight over these Sproul Studios, their vision is to present artists with space and opportunity to introduce new and experimental and rarely seen works. We currently have about 5 shows each year, and those vary from one person to group shows in a variety of different mediums. Those are housed at the gallery location. The gallery is also known for our Amplify mural project that began 6 years ago. We just unveiled the newest winner of that 2 weeks ago. We received 157 applications from throughout the country for that project. We're really excited about the result. And not easy, but take the opportunity while I have the mic. Our holiday art show begins tomorrow, conveniently enough, at 6 o'clock. if anyone would like to join us there. It represents 150 different artists from throughout Georgia who will be selling holiday gift items. The Spruill Center for the Arts, and in particular the Spruill Gallery, is part of the Metro Atlanta arts and culture infrastructure. We're heavily involved with other arts organizations. Most recently, we were a cultural partner at the Atlanta Arts Fair, which was the second one that they've had. There was over 12,000 people from throughout the country that participated in that. Our gallery director was part of the steering committee of that organization, and as I mentioned, we were the only organization that was a 2-year cultural partner there. So, Spruill Studios. The idea behind this, again, is an outgrowth of our trying to expand our reach and impact throughout the region. The idea is that we would like to transform these former City Hall building to create studio space for artists, and let me mention affordable studio space for artists to work, to create, and to have their studios. So basically, a place for them to come and work every day, much as we come to our offices. Based on the site plan and our figuring out how that would all work within the existing space, we're anticipating having 9 dedicated studios in the former offices that were there, private studios, and then 6 studios in the open space that we would build out to make sure that they are safe and secure, and also give them each a little bit of privacy. We will do this at a subsidized cost of $1.50 a square foot for the artists. So it truly makes it something that is affordable for artists in finding space. There's no similar space up here for artists to create. There's obviously places downtown, and there's the Goat Farm, and there's places in Pittsburgh and off I-20 corridor, but nothing on this side. And we know that there's artists here because our numbers prove that out. The idea then is to further activate programming at the old City Hall building through our artists, through our organization, and a partnership with the City of Chamblee and the arts group here in Chamblee. We see this as being something that will generate economic growth through tourism, through visitation, and through the programming that we bring to the site. And lastly, having an increased accessibility for the arts and culture programming for our artists and for curators and others that are interested in the arts to come to this side of town. As you guys are well aware, we've read through your Arts and Culture Master Plan, so I'm preaching to the choir a little bit here. But the arts enhance the livabilities of communities without a doubt. Arts organizations improve livability metrics such as property value, voting rates, volunteerism, safety, creative placemaking, increases neighborhood pride, increases neighborhood trust. Residents that are involved in the arts are more likely to volunteer, and they're more community engaged than those communities that don't have cultural institutions such as what we're proposing. The impact of these studios, we see that not only supporting local creatives, but revitalizing the space, which has been vacant for several years now. We're coming ready to go with this project. It's budgeted and are almost approved. We have a board meeting Monday. Sorry, I jumped the gun there a little. Budget for next year. We've done our business plan for it. We have the items that we need in place to be ready to go on day one with turning this around. And we also have the connections within the art world to make sure that there's a viable pool of artists to come in and begin work. The idea is to create a vibrant cultural tourism destination here in conjunction with everything else that you guys have done an incredible job of here in downtown Chamblee. I confused Chamblee and Dunwoody there. And to make sure that we're also contributing and supporting the local economy, having a place for public programming, having a place for access, working in conjunction with a lot of the events that you guys are already doing, like the Chalk Walk or the Chamblee Arts Festival, and being a part of that larger growth. Okay, I think that was my last slide then. With that, we're happy to answer any questions, specific or broader. And like I said, we are really excited about this opportunity and working with you all.
Council?
Leslie, are you happy?
I'm actually ecstatic. Can I ask some questions, or were you?
I mean, I can,
as long as your mic's
I
on.
can come back to my questions, but did you go ahead if you want to? You may answer all my questions.
So the parking situation over there, are the spaces that are against the building considered to go with the building, or is that public parking?
So we would leave the reserve spots as is, because they're part of the facility use, but overall, the rest of the spaces are considered public parking.
And that's, that could be tricky.
Yeah.
However, that doesn't mean I want it to go away. Believe me, I don't. So are the artists going to be required to teach some classes? in
They won't be
lieu?
teaching classes there. They will be possibly having demonstrations and open houses and studio visits, but it wouldn't be there's not two different types of artists, but there are two different types of artists.
Yeah.
Some artists just create, others create and then utilize teaching as a way to subsidize their I want to say salary, but that's not the right word, their income. So at our education center in Dunwoody is where most of the teaching occurs.
Okay.
We see this space as a place for artists to come and work, but then also open the doors up to the community with great frequency so that people can come and interact with the artists and see a demonstration.
And do you foresee somehow marrying the building with this space that's behind it? Because right now, I don't know that there's even a door to go out onto the plaza area that is on this side, the back side of the building.
Are you talking about the green space that's behind the old City Hall building? Yes, I think that that's a prime area that we're really excited about activating. So for example, if we had an open house for the studio artists, to have a food truck out there, or to have a band out there, or to have something that brought the public there, we can also enhance what's already happening in the studios with our artists from the education center. So we may be able to teach like a class or do a demonstration.
And that space is park space, so that gets a little tricky when it comes to that.
Is it actually designated park space?
It is designated park space.
It could be tricky, but I still think it could be done, because we do it in other parks as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, it's just not public, it's public land, but not in the context of City Hall public land, right? So
Right.
it follows those rules.
I hear you. We do, I don't want to slight the existing artist space that we do have in Chamblee, because we do have,
The Urban Art Collective?
yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
Dryads dancing down on that end. I completely agree with everything that you've said. I've been beating that drum for 20 years, and so I'm thrilled to see you here. Your Sproul is well respected, and I love that you are very connected to the outside world of art as well. I think that that's monumental. I think that's bigger than I could have even dreamed. We do have a public art commission. I would like to understand how that would work together with this studio space. I think that would be important, to figure out how we can marry that. That might be all I have to say right now.
So my questions are more technical and that kind of stuff, because there's no drawing. So I do agree with Leslie that at least to have those studio spaces, I guess, are in those glass facing the garden, give people a reason to walk that, because it's kind of dank and dark and there's no reason to go. But if people could walk by and see somebody throwing some pots or painting or something, and I'm not saying they have to be there required, but it could definitely be, a reason to go back there and look, see what this guy's doing, or one of the artists. So I think how that section engages, they play nice with each other. There's, whether it's lighting or the windows open or the blinds up or whatever it is. And I know they don't always want to be, in view of the public, but, that should be a consideration. Parking was one of them. I think parking, you know, especially like event parking, like when you're having one of your big events, we're going to definitely need to notify the restaurants who count on that parking for their, I don't anticipate your parking being heavy every single day. I think it's going to be very event-driven or whatever that might be. So I think there's going to need to be some coordination with that and the time of the day and that kind of stuff. The costs is, I mean, I assume you may or not may be paying rent for that, the space over here. And if you are or not, I guess we need to understand, like, we've had several costly repairs on the air conditioning system over there, and, you know, if it's being used more or what the expectations of that might look like.
Right.
I just, so if, you know, anyway, those are the questions that I
Yeah,
have.
and Kristen, do you want to add a little color to that? Because I know you sent an email earlier today with some of this information.
Yeah, they're aware, and we've had some conversations about how we would approach the maintenance of the building. And of course, any enhancements that they make to the building, they would cover the cost of that. And I think these are the kinds of details that if you guys want to move forward, that we would go in and include in a negotiation on any kind of agreement with them.
Well, knowing some of those details might indicate whether I want to move forward or not.
For
So
sure.
it's just kind of I understand, though.
Yeah.
I understand. I'm not trying to be but this is things that popped into my head. That's a dangerous place to be.
We're anticipating not a major build-out, but basically clearing out of what's in there now to make it usable space for the artists. I may have neglected to mention earlier when I was speaking, you were talking about bringing attention to the building. The idea is to create a gallery space in the front. So when you walk in, you've got that beautiful glass front and the old conference room. Those are prime spaces for gallery space for those artists, and allows the walk-in. We also are anticipating staffing the building with staff in addition to the artists so that people can, well, one, so it's safe and secure, but two, so that there's a host or someone that when people are curious about what that building is, what is Spruill Studios, because believe it or not, we still get people that walk in our building now and be like, what is the Spruill Center for the Arts? So that's going to happen. We want to have staff there that can handle those questions, that can drive people through. The idea is to make it a vibrant, working, living space. And in terms of the costs, you know, the ongoing major issues such as an HVAC or something like that, as renters of the space for short term, I would not anticipate having to pay for those costs as they occur. Ongoing maintenance, utilities, things like that, of course, we would take that on. We're projecting this and doing our best to have it as a minimal subsidy out of Spruill's grander budget to make sure that the costs are not passed on to those artists, to keep that price per square foot for those artists as minimal as we can. The private spaces would be $300 a month, and the more open space is $150 a month, which is unbeatable for artist space, especially with the location.
And then in other types of businesses that, or projects, whatever you want to call them, there's been some question about for sale items. I didn't know if you were going to be like selling things and, you know, I'm not against it. It's just we may need to do some code revisions that would cover that. And then if there's alcohol being served, you know, we need to make sure we get all that straight and up front, as opposed to trying to like, hey, we want to have an event, we want to serve alcohol this weekend, what are you going to do? We're like,
Yeah, we do the same thing with our current city for our events. So we would do a special event alcohol permit and go through the DOR and do all the steps that are needed for those events. As far as your question regarding sales, it wouldn't be heavy sales, but the gallery would. The idea of it is to help facilitate sales for the artists, so that if people do come in, say it's a Taste of Chambly or some event, and people wander over to Spruill Studios, we would love to be able to facilitate a transaction.
we just
for
need
those
to make sure
artists.
it's allowed in the,
Sure.
you know, for the,
Yes,
you know,
we-
just so we don't get into any kind of issue down the road. I'm not against it at all, so.
I think that would all be. And like, I do have one other question. In Dunwoody, do you favor local residents, artists to lease space to, and would you do that?
No,
Oh,
no,
they
and
can
no.
come from wherever.
We're, one of the secrets of Sproul, and it's a fact that most people don't know, we only have 18% of our students that enrolled in our classes from Dunwoody. If you do Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, Chamblee, Doraville, Brookhaven, you're at about 50%. The rest come from throughout the greater metro area. So we see a similar pattern happening here in Chamblee, where we want to bring people from throughout the greater Atlanta area to the arts here in Chamblee, the same way that we have in Dunwoody.
And so Sproul is a nonprofit?
Oh, yes. My paycheck proves that.
But do you consider yourself a school?
We consider ourselves, I think the coding is a arts school.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, but we consider ourselves an arts-based nonprofit.
Okay.
The differentiation being the education center and the gallery, and then this third area being the studios.
We've spoken in the past with some of our developers about various partnerships of living space, various partnerships that we could come up with. I think it's a little premature to talk about that as far as like, discounted rent for artists in residence and that kind of stuff. However, that's something that may come down the road. I'm just beside myself with excitement. I really, really, really am. My husband's an artist. My husband taught at SCAD. My husband graduated with his MFA from FSU. Our life is artist friendships. I mean, those are our friends. And the city has wanted this for a long time. There are several people that live in this city that have tried and tried and tried to put this together, and it is not an easy undertaking. And so I think that having the solidity of the Sproul Arts Center behind this is guaranteed success.
We would love to bring them into the fold to help make this come to fruition. I mean, we know we're coming into a city that's not our own, even though it's 3 miles away or whatever we are. But we need that. I mean, we need that to help us understand the culture and to help us understand what's already occurred here. So we would love the participation of that group. And I believe what you were talking about before would be some sort of residency program. And my heart grew 2 sizes when you said that, because we would love to be a part of that too.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all are talking about a small development that's coming in about a block away. It'd be amazing to have some arts program, arts housing as part of that, but I don't want to overstep our bounds yet.
Lots of potential.
Couple of comments to Councilman Mesa's point. If we could try before Tuesday to nail down some type of facilities maintenance agreement.
So the request for this agenda item is not to finalize the lease agreement, but to give me an opportunity to further negotiate with them.
Gotcha,
And then
gotcha.
this is not the final product.
Awesome.
We're not quite there yet. I think we're getting close in some of the conversations, but before we went any further and really had attorneys get into it and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to just make sure that you guys are on board for this. And then give me the ability to negotiate further, address some of these technical concerns, keep you guys in the loop, of course, and then get to that final product.
Okay, perfect. That's one concern, because I understand when you're leasing or when you're renting a space that generally the owner is responsible for repairs, but I also understand if we're leasing it for $1 a year, there probably should be some shared cost if anything does, arise over there. I wouldn't want to put that on the backs of our citizens without having some conversation about it. The other thing is, and as Councilwoman Robson brought up, is partnerships, and it's really important to me that our existing organizations have some form of connectivity to the center. So if we could try to put pen to paper and kind of, on the back of a napkin, draw out some ideas of how you could work with the Public Arts Commission, or some of, not just them, but some of our other artist organizations in town. you know, I just want to make sure that they're included in this process.
It'd be great to form an advisory board, just speaking off the cuff, to form an advisory board of both the gallery staff and those groups to help us, because we're going to need help, and this isn't going to happen overnight. You know, if we can begin this process in the beginning of the new year, it's going to take us a few months to build it out, recruit artists, get word out. It would be great to have an advisory board to help us through that process.
Sounds great.
To that point, I just spitballing here, but it'd be great if we could get them a seat on the PAC organization, so they're part of that conversation, they can move that forward. Just, we don't need it till they get here, I'm just throwing ideas out there.
Yeah. Last question, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd like to see a roundtable of
That'd be great.
of the people that are involved, and then figure out how to incorporate everybody from there moving forward, rather than, you know, force anything. I think it needs to come about organically at first, and then find out what the thresholds are for, you know, tolerance of each other.
Last question. What does your application process look like? How do you determine who would be eligible for these spaces financially? I mean, when we talk about starving artists, I want to make sure that those that need it definitely get it, and not someone that really could afford it, but just don't want to pay. So how do y'all determine what starving artist is?
Well, first of all, that encompasses just about everybody. And unfortunately, in the society that we live in right now, almost every artist is a starving artist, especially recently. So we would make different qualifications. It's not like there would be an income cap. We would balance artists that probably people have never heard of, and then up-and-coming artists that maybe need a boost of space like this to become next level. But the idea is to have a mix. It fits hand in hand with our mission and our vision at the gallery to have artists with new, experimental, rarely seen works. So it will fill that void right now in terms of space. But I think, Mr. Mayor, that there's not an artist that I can think of off the top of my head that would be applying for this space that would be priced out of it for making too much right now.
To be rich.
I hear you. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
All right, under staff action items this evening, we have first up is the facilities use agreement.
Yes, I think Kevin Farrow is going to come present this item.
That's a face we don't see too often.
Good evening. So Chamblee Parks and Recreation would like to enter into a new facilities use agreement with Albion Soccer Club. So this is to provide our youth soccer at Dresden Park. So the city has partnered with Albion previously. So our current contract, we've been with them for 4 years, from 2021 to 2025. That existing agreement just ended June 30th of 2025. In the Parks and Rec Department, they've been satisfied with their performance and expertise in managing various levels of soccer and various price points of soccer offered to the community. This includes anything from recreation to academy to select. So they're going all the way from 3 years old all the way up to 17. Under the terms of the new agreement, Albion will continue to provide high-level quality youth soccer. This includes everything from pickup soccer, futsal, rec soccer, academy, and select. They would handle all registration and coordination. They also will offer scholarships to qualifying participants. And then, of course, ensure program goals are met through seasonal evaluations. So all the fees are outlined in the agreement. So with the success and quality program that Albion has shown in the past, we feel confident moving forward with a new facilities use agreement, which would start in January. Thank you.
Any questions on this item? This is a local organization?
Sure.
Local kids?
Yeah, so they go out of their way to make sure that no one is turned away for soccer, so local kids is their first priority for sure.
Thank you, sir. Next up is the Playa Cafe mural application.
Council. So I am here to talk about the mural grant application that was put in by Playa Cafe. They are opening, have not opened, but are trying to open a new cafe at 4928 Buford Highway. And, I was supposed to mention, I'm sorry you guys don't have a cover page for this. Apparently I did it wrong, so, so please refer to the slides. So they are trying to open up a new location and wanted to put a mural on this wall that's shown now. This wall is, what you're looking at on the right-hand side is Buford Highway. So you would see this wall sort of as you're driving by the building. So they put in a mural application as well as a Public Arts Commission mural grant application. And through some research, we realized that they are in the qualified census tract, so they would be a no-match grant recipient if approved. Oops. The artist who was chosen by Playa Cafe is Michelle Key. We actually have a mural by Michelle in Chamblee already. She was one of the muralists for Babe Walls, and she did one of the columns. So she's a known artist. We've worked with her before. And this is her concept sketch. Of course, it would look different in paint, but she threw this together for us so that we could see what it would look like. And the PAC did review this and approve it, and now we are coming to the mayor and council with the suggestion to approve it.
Any questions?
So this is the building that is, it's next to the gas station.
Correct.
And they're opening a cafe, it looks like, in the back portion?
So in the application, it says Suite A. I'm not sure, I haven't been to the site, so I'm not sure which portion of the building that is.
I'm not sure it matters, but so I'm looking at the map on MapQuest, which I use quite often. And we're looking at the whole side of this building. The mural's going to take up the whole side of the building?
Correct.
Okay.
I want to say their exact measurements were about a foot smaller on each side.
Okay, all right. All right.
They own the building?
That is currently in question. I believe they're trying to buy the building.
According to the packet, it's owned by an investment group out of California right now.
So in the application, it does show a different owner, but I was told by planning today that the applicant is in the process of trying to buy that building.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, so this image shown with the, I'm going to say woman holding a globe is kind of the close version of what it's going to be, because I don't look at art as based on what my preferences are. I look at it as what's going to cause my phone to ring. And I don't see anything that I think would cause my phone to ring, but...
No birds.
No birds.
No birds.
And we'll just stop there. But yeah, so I think that's, so yeah, if it's not going to cause my phone to ring, it looks beautiful.
Anything else? Thank you, ma'am. All right, we have the professional services agreement with Lowe Engineers for stormwater system survey and assessment. Hey, Todd.
Council, Todd Hill, Director of Public Works. In June of this year, we issued an RFP for proposals from qualified consultants for a comprehensive stormwater system and survey assessment. The purpose of this project is to generate an updated geospatial inventory of the city's stormwater assets to capture the complete system from the public right-of-way to the outfalls going to the state waters. And that will allow us to also assess the condition of all the assets. The condition assessment will evaluate structure and function of the assets and provide input to a risk of failure analysis and a prioritization near-term list of maintenance and repair needs. The mapping effort will also collect critical information missing in the existing database, such as elevations, that will allow the city to create the necessary models to inform a long-term stormwater master plan that addresses both the system capacity and needs and condition. We received 11 proposals from this RFP, which was really exciting to have that many consultants propose on this. And after ranking them and evaluating them, we decided to interview 4 of the proponents that had scored the highest. We also asked them to provide revised fees based on additional information we provided at the interview and discussing their methods and means of how they plan to do this assessment. With that, we have 4 proponents that are shown on the slide, and with those 4 proponents, the lowest bidder on this we deemed was not the best one for this because of they were not, their team was not as cohesive as we wanted, and we did not feel that they would be able to meet our needs. Therefore, the other 3 proponents we were very excited about. We felt that all 3 could do a great job on this, and so we went to the next lowest fee, and that was with Lowen Associates. And so staff recommends that the city award the contract to the next lowest bidder, that is Lowen Associates, and their subconsultant Atlas for a not-to-exceed fee of $538,782.21. This firm has a history of working with other cities in the area about our size and preparing these same types of surveys and assessments.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions? Good job, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, this will circle us back down to our public hearing items. First up is 5039 Buford Highway. Questions or comments from council? Anything?
I didn't see any elevations including in the new, what the final product is going to be like in the packet. I don't know if I missed it or just didn't see it, but I definitely would kind of like to have an idea of what that might look like, whether it's a rendering or there's a drawing, a 2D drawing or something. And if Matt can answer that, then I'll be glad.
Sure. So there is an elevation of the new gas pumps that is provided. There is not an elevation of the building because the building is not the subject of the variance or waivers that's being triggered, so there was not one that was provided to us. That's my subtext reading into the application. The applicant may be able to better explain their plans for the building.
That's the applicant.
I agree. I'd like to see some kind of a rendering. I mean, so there's no plan to renovate the existing building at all?
Not that staff is aware of, but we allow the applicant to maybe explain their plans for that.
Sure.
Come on up. Are you planning to renovate the existing building?
After this, like when we start the project, then we'll start submitting all the drawings and everything, but we're happy to show you the aesthetically how it's going to look like in the future, a rendering and the way all the colors and everything according to the code of the city. So we can provide that.
Matt, does that, in that they are planning to renovate the building, does that not bring anything into the permitting process?
It will eventually. At this point, the applicant sent the application to us. We're responding to that. The elevations, if they're planning any work on the building, eventually will need to go through that analysis. But at this point, we're dealing with the entitlements related to the site and the requests that they are making.
So I do want to ask probably you, Kristen, and probably you, Matt. We know that Chamblee-Dunwoody Road there is between Buford Highway and Shallowford Road is really problematic. And it's quite related to this piece of property. And if if this goes through, we're gonna be hogtied to expand that road in any way, shape, or form. And it might need to be widened. It kind of, I think it does need to be widened because because having striped a turn lane has made it really narrow. So I'm worried about that.
So one thing to note on this, and it doesn't pertain to their development here, so just bear in mind, but the triangle piece that's kind of in that area, I believe that our community improvement district, and one of the board members was just in here, I wish he was still in here because he could probably provide additional detail on that, but I believe our community improvement, Chamblee-Doraville CID is looking at some transportation improvements. I believe the Safety Action Plan Group is looking at some transportation improvements in that area. So it is already being looked at. Now, I don't know how it would work with this potential project and what they're looking at, but we're already looking at that area as opportunity as the area redevelops and it grows, what the traffic improvements need to be.
While I know that it's a privately owned piece of property, I just am worried that the improvements that are put on it are gonna make it really a whole lot harder down the road. And I really think that maybe that's a conversation that needs to occur before you, before you move forward, and before we move forward, and before anybody moves forward. So that worries me. Also, the sidewalk situation worries me a lot because that corner sees a lot of pedestrian activity, and it needs to be accommodating to that. So that worries me. So I kind of might want to consider putting this on hold for a little while before we really make any decisions, honestly.
Yeah, I'm having a little trouble, not that I'm against the gas pumps, and I'm not against that, and the layout, the configuration necessarily, but not knowing how the building is going to play, I would really like to have it all as one project. And then maybe you don't want to proceed with the building reconstruction if you can't get the gas pumps. I understand how that might work, but it's still hard for me to make the decision if this is a good layout. And then with the factor that Kristen was talking about, how that was, so I think it's a little early for me to know, because I don't know exactly what I'm, like, it just seems very piecemeal at the time. Maybe it's not intended to be that way, but that's the way it feels for me right now. So that's not a question, it was just a statement.
Listen to all your queries and all your recommendations, and if you can just table it for this hearing, we can go back and work with the planner and just exactly come back with make a decision with the more knowledge-based decision.
Kiss.
And so you are the owners of the Chevron station?
No, Mr. Reddy.
I'm the owner of the Chevron. We have 4 pumps over there, ma'am.
No, just 3.
No, no.
Technically, the 3
The
cannot.
the Chevron, the
Okay,
other
so
two.
the other one, sorry.
Asking for 6 on this site?
No, ma'am. Actually, it is only 3 pumps. They are counting 3 either side, so basically 3 pumps. So the reason why we did that one is like we want 4 pumps, but due to it is not fitting, we made match for that property. And we giving up one of the entry which we blocking on that street because anyway no traffic is coming from that side, but we want to stop over there. So
already we are giving up one of the entrances.
And the egress driveway cut that you're giving up is the one that's closest to Shallowford Road on Chamblee-Dunwoody?
Ma'am.
Traffic backs up trying to turn in there and trying to turn in this way and all that kind of stuff.
That's why we want to keep a dumpster over there and block that way.
I agree with Mr. Mesa that this is complicated. That's a complicated piece of land, and it's complicated for the reason of the size and shape and all of that kind of stuff, but also because it is a trouble spot for us in the city. And I really would like to know that in the future, we're not going to be hampered to improve it by, not planning for those improvements now before you guys get started. So I'd like to see more research.
And one more notice, ma'am, we have 2 traffic lights on the Beaufort Highway itself, like stopping. It is not like the through traffic. So only this side we have a stop sign, which is coming from Chambly Dunwoody Road, where it is making left. And rest of that one, we have a traffic sign, so the traffic is lit slow over there.
Complicated, and if it's not fixed now, it'll get worse. So, or planned for, it will get worse. And so that area does need some love. If you do renovate your building, would you not want to raise the walls a little bit?
It's a different way of doing it, like it's just for an aesthetically. We need to just, that's in the plan. So what we will do, we'll just come back with the aesthetically how it's going to look in the future, the entire project. And as far as the traffic is concerned, we are already giving up one of the entrances.
You're not going to need the canopy variance if you raise the building higher than the canopy will be.
That's, we will discuss with the planners and we'll see how we can come up with that solution. Yeah.
The only comment I'll make on this is not particularly about their project, but when the gas station goes into a property, those tanks go in, and we're locked into that property for 50 years with a gas station. It could be nothing else, because it turns into a brown site, and people don't want to pay to remove those tanks. We've seen it on Chambly Dunwoody and Peachtree, Peachtree Boulevard. That property's been sitting dormant, vacant, for a very long time, because all it can be is a gas station. So just wanted to throw that out there, food for thought.
Any other questions or comments?
They can sell chocolate.
Thank you, sirs. Appreciate you. All right, this takes us down to Villa Esta Drive. Any comments, questions for the applicant?
Does the applicant own the property, or do they rent the property? You own the property.
Matt, did they not have a contractor?
Bear with me 1 second while I look at the,
Ma'am, you want to come up?
I believe the application was taken in as a homeowner submittal, just due to the fact that it was in response to a code violation or a notice of violation.
Did you you hired a contractor to do this for you? And that person didn't mention that you needed a permit?
When he came in, I was out of town. I was not even in town. I got a call telling me that they were destroying my driveway, and when I got back, it was already done.
Any other questions on this? Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Just to be clear, this was a property owner submittal based on the application.
So vis-a-vis the parking, is there parking on both sides of Villa Esta?
Staff is not aware if there is parking on both sides of Villa Esta. Just based on our site visits, there wasn't. It was during the middle of the day when we visited the site. The issue at play is whether or not there is a hardship present that requires the additional curb cut, and whether or not additional parking can be accommodated on the site without said additional curb cut. So staff found that based on the evidence that was provided to us, there was not enough justification for us to support that.
And Leslie, I'm very familiar with that part of the town, and yes, you're allowed to park on both sides, but it is very tight because how close the driveways are in proximity to each other, and there's a lot of on-street parking already on one side that makes it difficult.
Okay. But that could be remedied with some no parking. far as needing a parking space goes.
Well, let me rephrase that. It's effectively impossible to park on one side because how close the curb cuts are to each other.
Okay. All right. Still, you could still maintain another parking space in front of the front door without having the circular driveway.
That is staff's assessment, yes.
So the issue is the curb cut, not the amount of driveway? There's no,
Correct.
so if she wanted to stop her other part 1 foot from the, and not have it enter the road, all that could still remain?
There would need to be some assessment of where the driveway is in relation to the property line. Otherwise, it would trigger a right-of-way encroachment permit.
Okay, so if
another
it doesn't
part of
cross the right of way, then it would not, we wouldn't be talking about this. Okay, I just want to narrow the focus from my head. Thank you.
Thank you. 5525 Peachtree Boulevard. Questions from council?
You ready? You going?
Well, I would just like to see the revised fence included in this document that we're going to vote on. I would like to see that as part of the document.
Okay, yeah, no problem. We're basically following the PUD guidelines for that fence design, but we'd be happy to send over an updated elevation of the entire fence and, yeah, what that'll look like.
And the other part, I know the answer, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Is that tent going to go?
It is, yeah. Yeah, that's gone. So,
Thank you.
Yep.
It just has bugged me forever. That's
Yeah,
all.
Honda's getting rid of those tents. Yeah, they obviously don't like them either.
Any other questions?
So the other thing, the only concern I have about that whole site is when you come down Broad Street on your side of the sidewalk, if you're riding a bike, scooter, whatever it is, it's very sketchy over there. There's stuff coming at you from all different directions. The sidewalk's got a pitch like this, which if you have to do anything, it's going to throw you into the road. And so and I was part of council when we approved the service center, and everything is beautiful from probably the front door of the current showroom. That way is fine. But then the closer you get to that corner and go up that road, it's very wonky, and I don't know how much of this is being brought into the conversation. It looks like at least a portion from where the pickup area is, that's part of the wonky sidewalk, in my opinion, and all the curb cuts and cars coming in and out. It's just, it's kind of sketchy. So I didn't know if there's room for improvement in that, or that was looked at or considered. I was looking at it, and it was kind of,
Yeah. So we are proposing to improve some of the curb cuts where right now there's not a clear pathway or striping or anything where the sidewalk crosses a driveway. So we are proposing to add those in to all existing curb cuts. The sidewalks, I believe, were renovated in 2018, 2017, when the service building was. I believe they wrapped up and around, and they planted some more trees up there. So I wasn't aware of the sidewalk conditions, but
right.
Yeah.
I think most of that sidewalk's been there from the corner up. Broad Street has been there for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
And it's, was not part of the improvement to my knowledge. And like I said, there's room for improvement. And I'd hope to take, while all this other stuff is going on over there, that they take that into consideration. And well, that'll probably indeed be, if I decide to vote for approval, I will make it a condition of approval, so,
Okay,
if I can.
understood.
So,
Yeah, Matt, a question for you real quick that ties into John's, Councilman Mesa's. Because right now they're asking for a waiver from doing any kind of improvements on Broad Street, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Besides basically improving those curb cuts where the sidewalk goes across, so we'll improve those, and then we're going to replace the fence now.
The curb cut goes away, that's at the part of the building on Broad Street that's closest to Peachtree Boulevard, where you pull a couple cars in and you have a door. That curb cut goes away, doesn't it?
It stays, but we're going to improve it by providing striping.
Okay. Uh-huh.
That curb cut will remain, but we're just going to improve the crosswalk.
And I really can't tell what your landscaping plan is, but I'd like to see it prettier than it is. I mean, I know you got your trees on Broad Street, I'm sorry, on Peachtree Boulevard, and grass. And then you have some stuff up against the walls and everything, but I think it could use some pizzazz. I'd like to see something a little bit better, especially if you're asking for waivers on.
Okay, understood. Yeah, I know we can look at our planter situation in front of the building especially. I know car dealerships obviously don't want to have a ton of landscaping right in front so people could see the display vehicles. But yeah, we can definitely look at improving the landscaping.
But your display vehicles are all, way on up there. And if you have some really great landscaping, that's not gonna, eliminate the sight lines to the cars. People are gonna turn to look at the landscaping, and then they're gonna look at the cars. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, I know there was landscaping there in like 2015. They tore it all out to basically enlarge the sidewalks and then meet some other requirements with the city. But yeah, we can look back at adding some more landscaping back in.
No issues with the building and the design and overall, at least from my perspective. So we're, the core issue that you want is the building and how bringing it up to Honda's current standards. And I don't think we're talking about any of that. So
Yeah, exactly.
so we're just focusing on all the stuff that touches the public portion of the project, the sidewalks and stuff, especially, like I said, the Broad Street section is just a little
Wonky, like you said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up is 3535 Ashton Woods Drive. That is Pruitt. Any discussion on this item?
So if council will indulge me, I do have additional materials that were provided by the applicant. Okay, so this is the site plan as you may have remembered it. The last time you see the addition here, the additional parking here, and the parking lot that was proposed, which encroaches on the buffer here and here. There are also retaining walls which encroach in the buffer over here. So the new site plan that is provided, which I will note the real reason why I wanted to show you this, the new received stamp up in the upper right-hand corner for the Chamblee Planning and Development Department. The new site plan that's been provided removes the additions, removes the retaining walls, and removes the encroachments of the parking area into the buffer. There is an area down in this location, if you can see where my mouse is, where there would be an encroachment, but that is an existing nonconformity that they would be carrying up and out, so they would be actually reducing the degree to that nonconformity occurs. So this would remove one of the variance requests. The additional variance requests would all relate to streetscape design along Ashton Woods Drive and keeping the amount of tree cover that is there instead of providing street trees. So I will leave this up and allow the applicant to speak to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Baxter Russell for Pruitt Health. Good to be here this evening. There's also other members of the Pruitt team. If you have questions that I cannot answer, appreciate that overview from Director Adams. I have just a few comments. I'll be brief, but these comments I think are very impactful, as you've heard. So just to recap, I think importantly our original request. We had 4 requests: a buffer variance, open space, and 2 streetscape requests. Those 4 requests were to accomplish 2 purposes: to expand the building and to expand the parking area. We heard lots of feedback from you all. We heard feedback from our neighbors, members of the community, and of course feedback from staff in the staff report. In response to those comments, we've made significant updates and revisions to the site plan. The updates, as Director Adams just explained, are as follows. One is we have completely removed the building expansion. So that has been eliminated, so there's no impact to the buffer area on the that north area of the site plan where we had retaining walls encroaching into the buffer. And then for the parking lot area, that has been pushed out of the buffer as well. It's been redesigned, so there's no impact to the buffer from the parking area. This results in no need for the buffer variance. Additionally, there have been some other updates to the site plan that I think are important and impactful as well. We have added underground stormwater detention underneath the new parking area. So really going above the pervious paver situation that we were proposing before to really provide a better, more detailed way to manage that stormwater coming across the entire property and both parking areas. We've also added additional landscaping in between the two parking areas. I've got just a newer version of this site plan that shows some of that landscaping as well that I'm happy to provide you all. I've sent it to you all directly, but providing some additional landscaping as well. So our requests now are to modify our application. We are requesting that we be allowed to withdraw the buffer variance, but maintain and request your approval of the open space variance as well as the landscape waivers. Ask that you consider these changes. These have been made in good faith by the applicant to respond to feedback that we've heard, and ask that we be allowed to move forward with the site plan as shown before you. Please let me know if you've got questions.
I just want to say thank you for listening. There's so many times that we sit up here where we say things and people don't take that to heart. So I want to thank Pruitt for actually listening and especially to our residents, because I know you guys got a lot of feedback from them as well on this. So my gratitude.
I concur, but yes, so thank you for all of that, and yeah, what he said.
I would like to have this in my packet before Tuesday so that I can look at it.
Yeah, we'll update it for Tuesday's meeting.
All right.
I'm going to go back and say that it looks good today on its surface, but because of the 11-12 thing, it hasn't had fully reviewed, so I do hold out like pending further review, as they say. But it looks pretty good from what I'm seeing right now, in my opinion.
As I mentioned just in my comments, I think we really hit head-on the primary concern of getting out of that buffer. The additional items that we're asking for, I'm not saying that they're minor because they're not important, but I'm saying that they're minor in the sense of not a comment that we heard very loud from the members of the community. Also just want to highlight those other things that we're asking for, the open space and the streetscape variances. The request for those things also relates to the feedback we heard from you in the community, which is we don't want to disturb more area of the property if it doesn't make practical sense to do those things. The landscaping that the code requires us to do now, because of the tree canopy that's there would likely not be successful. We are proposing some new landscaping. It's just not to the degree that's required by code. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. We're down to 1871 Chamblee Tucker Road. This is Walmart. Questions from council?
So as a regular user of the pickup area, my wife sends me there at least once a week to pick up groceries and whatnot. It is a cluster, whatever. And I think it could be done better. So I don't know how. That's not my job, but I think it's my issue's not the location. It's not whatever. I mean, it kind of is what it is. I understand what it was before, but I think it's kind of done on the cheap. I think it can be done better, especially from a big company like Walmart. It can be done better. So I would, I don't know. I just think it could be better, done better.
So the pickup location used to be in the lower parking deck?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
That was formerly the garden center, and then they repurposed that into the online pickup and delivery.
Okay.
And it's a one-way drive currently, so you have to go to the back of the building. You pull into some 45-degree spaces coming through the previous garden center, and then once you get your groceries, you head back out towards the front.
So you go instead of going the driveway that goes down, you go around that way, where, oh, now I get it.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yeah,
didn't
it's a cluster.
understand that. So then you have to do that.
These signs are already installed, right?
I'm sorry?
These signs have already been installed?
The currently allowed number of signs have been installed and I think are at their current 7 feet off the ground at the bottom of the sign, which is also exceeding the max height currently allowed. So we're asking for some relief on both of those, and I think Walmart certainly would be open to, like, if we can do more, we would love to do more. I don't know if you're also maybe looking for like a, you know, paint a sign on the that south side of the building with a nice arrow.
I'm not necessarily against more, I'm against crappy and want better, and so that's just me. So I might be inclined to grant more if they don't want more crap. Sorry.
They are currently a small blue sign with a white arrow on them, so.
So Walmart no longer has a garden center? Walmart no longer has, huh. I haven't been to Walmart lately, sorry.
Don't you buy all your
So-
clothes there?
If I can, so I guess there's two things. One, is how long has this area been used, how long have you been using this as the online pickup area? Is this a recent change at the facility, or has this been in place for several months? Or a year?
believe-
I'm asking, because I don't know.
I just visited for the first time yesterday. I'm not sure how long they've been doing this, but I
So
think
they were
it's-
originally in the front parking lot, and that was even more of a cluster than it is now. You had to circle around, and you had people wanting to park in the front.
Okay.
Then they moved it, I think it's probably in the year range, maybe, I'm gonna
Okay.
say, make a guess, but yeah, the front was horrible.
So, one, I wonder if part of the issue is just familiarity, and as it's used, people are going to figure out where they're actually going when they go after the first time. Looking at the pictures in the packet, one of your signs is already leaning. So to the durability question, I don't know that signs are really what you need versus actually striping or painting on the roads with large lettering. The signs are small, they're going to be missed, especially if it's an evening or, you know, this time of year when it's dark at 5 o'clock at night.
Certainly.
Whereas retroreflective paint on the road, which wouldn't have a height limit, which wouldn't have a sign limit, would probably serve this as well and not have a variance request attached to it. Have you looked at those options? Was that ruled out at some point? Or is this the standard Walmart solution of just putting up signs?
Definitely that latter for sure.
Okay, so-
I do not know if the team has entertained thermoplastic striping before, so I can bring that to you.
I'd be just
certainly.
kind of curious to know is, you know, were other options looked at? Or was it just let's jam some poles in the ground and go from there? I don't expect you to have an answer at this moment, but that's the question on my mind.
Yeah, it's fair. Piggyback off what Councilman Fife was saying, that's an extremely busy area already, visually, notwithstanding the traffic and all the people who are there, and its signs may not be the best solution when we're looking to beautify the city and not add more signage.
You know, and the whole area is outdoors, you know, so you don't have it. You know, Home Depot in their lumber yard has a, you know, whatever that is that you drive under, and you kind of know, it says lumber yard, you kind of know what it is. This, you have, until you've done it once, you have no idea what it is, because the signs, majority of the signs are on the side of the building or on the wall, so you don't even see them as you're driving up, and then you have to cross 2 lanes of oncoming traffic to get over there. It's just, I think I said cluster a couple times. Didn't say the other part, but I.
Yeah, my other concern is with at least one of these signs looking to be very close to the rail trail. While experienced bicyclists or scooter riders, I'm not concerned with, but, you know, younger riders that use our trails, somebody gets off, you know, gets out of balance or hits a rock on the road, that's another object for someone to collide with. So that is a concern. That area is already tight. It's already close to a busy roadway. So, you know, being able to minimize those kind of risks is something that's definitely on my mind.
I think what you said is correct, too, that those signs are not the solution. More robust striping and directional is going to be a better solution, so look into it.
Thank you, sir. And that takes us down to 3535 Broad Street. Questions from council?
I can't imagine anyone has anything on their mind
I
about
don't
this.
think there's no questions on this item. Any questions?
This is City
Comments?
Center, yeah?
Yeah.
Where to start? So council did a visioning session before we even got to the RFP, where we didn't want a road in project. We wanted this to be a walkable city center with no vehicle traffic. I sat on the Development Advisory Council and we vetted 10 RFPs for city center. I made it abundantly clear to each developer that we did not have a desire to have a road running through the middle of our city center. The initial concept that was presented to us by Vantage Greystar did not have a road in the city center. You can imagine my dismay when I first saw this drawing, after they're selected to have a road running right down the middle. I vocalized my dismay at Vantage at the time. I was told this is a wool nerf. That's a Scandinavian phrase. This is not a wool nerf, because pedestrians cannot use the full width of this public road at all times, because there is vehicular traffic going in and out for the apartments. I was told it was DeKalb Fire. When pressed, they had not talked to DeKalb Fire yet. So it was not for fire reasons. That brings us to today, when there's still a road running through the middle of the project. I was hoping for a partnership, but this feels more like a bait and switch. Based on this, I have severe reservations about approving the project as presented.
Thanks, sir.
John, may I, or do you want to go next?
You go ahead.
So, similar to Councilman First, as we've gone through this, I've been pretty consistent in some of my concerns, the road through the middle, pedestrian friendliness. The bigger one for me as I've worked through this is what I did not want to see was the great wall of apartment in line of sight from City Hall. If I understand this correctly, and if Matt, if you can confirm the math that I asked you about when we were talking about this the other day, as this is going to be built, the overall height of that site will be higher than our City Hall. What we end up with is a very large visual barrier, and we still have a quarter of a city on the other side of it, in an area that hopefully in the next 20 years gets developed. I was reading through this packet the other night, and as I was on, I don't know, page 198 or something, every one of the projects in here, other commercial projects, are projects that will be here and in place long after I'm in the ground. Suddenly that changed how I think about things a little bit. I'm taking a little bit different view. This is a long game. The commercial side of the project, I like the architecture. Are there things that could be tweaked? Of course there are. The idea, the overall part works. The multifamily comes off to me as being more of the same. I know in conversations that I've had with the Vantage Greystar team, in the visioning sessions, everything else, I've shared my concerns about having just another big boring box. While there is some variety of materials being used, it still looks like one giant building. Visually uninteresting, visually, kills the line of sight through our city. I'm having trouble with it. Matt, do you have that math? Just to tell me if I'm crazy or not on that number. I may have misread.
I do. So the average height of the building, which is how the code asks us to do it, is going to be, I believe, roughly 59.5 feet. From grade to the highest point of the roof, along Ingersoll Rand Drive, it would be just under 78 feet from absolute grade to absolute peak. That's just that area, and that is the tallest portion of the building, but it would be.
Sure. So what we end up with is in a roadway that has a total right-of-way of 60 feet of width, if I remember correctly, on Ingersoll Rand. You have a building that's 20 feet taller than the right-of-way in that spot, abutting an area that we expect to have developed somewhere in the next 20 or 30 years. Potentially not in my lifetime, but certainly in the time of my kid and other folks' kids and the people who are going to be living with this long after I'm done worrying about it. This is supposed to be the centerpiece. I'm not getting the feeling that it is. And I'm having a lot of trouble with it.
So I don't necessarily share the same concerns as Councilman First and Mr. Vythe, but I do, other than, we did talk a lot about the drive in advance, and we never really, it doesn't offend me that it's there, but it seemed like the explanation or the detail could have been a little better. As far as the height, we've had this height discussion before when the Oliver went in, or the SLX went next to it, and the SLX was considerably taller than the building next to it. However, the topography kind of made them even. So I am concerned about, when I look out this way, is the building going to be above my sight line, thus looking into the wall, or is it going to be down below grade? Because I know there's a topography change that's whatever, so I think but that time when we talked about the SLX and then we talked about the height at sea level, like, is it the same below and that kind of stuff? So I don't, that's the only way the altitude or whatever that term is. So has there been any thought on that, or did you figure that out yet?
So not having been here for those conversations for that property, what I can tell you is that at this corner along Ingersoll Rand Drive, there is a portion that benefits from a drop in topography to have a height that otherwise would be taller than would be required here, just based on the way the UDO asks the planning department to measure the buildings. We are measuring the average height of the building taken from all sides of the building from the average point of grade on each facade. So that kind of takes the outliers out, which this corner of the building along Ingersoll Rand is the outlier, and raises the point at which we measure it approximately 15, 16 feet.
I'm not to cut you off, I don't care about any of that. I want to know how high it is relative to here. So that would be so yes, like when I look out there, am I looking into the building? Am I looking down on the building, or looking up at the building? So that would be.
What floor would you be looking at?
Yeah, that's, to me, that's altitude or sea level or
If
whatever.
I can, Mr. Mesa, because this is my question as well. If I did my math correctly, if you're standing on the roof of you're standing on the third floor balcony of City Hall and you're looking straight out, you will still be looking at the top of the multifamily building.
Gotcha.
So if you're standing at the front doors, you're going to be looking up.
Right, okay.
What I might suggest, if the council is so inclined to ask for this from the applicant, because that sort of analysis is maybe beyond my staff's ability to procure, is some sort of relative elevation that the applicant can provide so that we can analyze it and then provide it to council.
Right. Yeah, I guess elevation is the word. I kept saying sea level, but it's elevation. I mean, like I said, I've worked out hard on this too, like Jimmy did. We were both on the same committees, and it was a bit of a surprise. Having said that, I want to know, I want the project to be successful. I want it to work. I want the retailers to be successful. So if you're going to have this road that's part of the discussion that we're talking about, why is it necessary, and how does it make, we're going to get better quality of tenants? Are we going to make it easier to lease? Because that's something I'm very concerned about on this project, is having dark spaces over there. I want it to be full. I want it to be vibrant. I want people to not go like, well, I would go there, but I can't ever find a parking space. So again, that's my biggest concern. And so if there's some justification on having this configuration that we're talking about, I want to hear it, that this is what our retail partners have told us they need, less concerned about what the residents of the apartment need. They'll get home one way or another because that's where they live. But how my wife accesses this project to go eat is a totally different thing. And I'm going to only use her, not because she's the only one that's important, but because that's just kind of like my benchmark. It's like, if she finds it horrible, then probably others will find it horrible. She's pretty reasonable. But anyway, I think that's long enough for my rant.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, to be honest with you. I do have one question, though, that I would like an answer to, and that is, this tree space, little park, or whatever we want to call it, that is, now there's a building in front of it, between it and the road, that is next to Contrast. Essentially, what's the width of that? I can't read this fine print. It's not coming up for me. What's the width and the depth?
Sorry, which portion are you referring to?
The
Building 400.
Or the green space next to
yeah,
the building.
the green space next to, that is
Referring to a site plan?
the kidney-shaped piece that's next to Contrast Ale and their parking.
So you're talking about the camp, the tree save
Yes.
location?
Yep. Are there any trees going to be
Yeah.
saved in there?
Yeah, yes.
The
Because
majority
they're
of the
not
trees.
notated on the thing.
If you go to page 548, I don't know which page you're on, but it does notate the tree save area.
I see them now.
Okay, so you're asking for the width of that tree save area. Bear with me one moment.
So how many trees are there now? And you're going to save, what, 5 of them?
Intent was for all the mature trees right here in this tree save cluster to save them, make them a key component to this section of the site. So it is not our intention to take any of those trees away that are mature, healthy trees. But I'll let our landscape architect talk further upon it.
What, I hate this computer. The building that fronts on Peachtree right there at that tree save space, is that 1 story, 2 stories? What is it? 1 story? And what is it going to be? I mean. Uh-huh. And the parking for that is going to be where? So no, there's no parking like right up, so there's on-street parking on Peachtree? Parallel?
Question, that parcel there is about 150 feet wide by about 210 feet long in that tree save area.
And for the trees in the area, I believe there's around 16 or so of the existing trees that are to remain. And when we placed Building 400, we took in mind one of the largest trees that's in the site and really designed the building and placed it in order to save the building. And so sort of save the tree. And so we worked with Joel when we did that to make sure that we were disturbing, I believe, less than 30% of the canopy of that tree.
And I'll add real quick, the canopy of that tree, we are envisioning as a vital component to whoever the end user is for that building 400, so.
Yeah, and that entire area will basically just be hardwood mulch with shrubs around it. So there'll be no grading in that area, no pervious pavement, just mulch. And so there is a small patio space that's behind Building 400 that's part of the disturbance calculated.
That site's very uneven. You're going to have to do some addition of soil or something because it's very uneven and very unsafe for people to walk through and play on, so there will be some. I could care less about the mulch. I'm not a fan of hardwood mulch, but that's okay. That's me. I still haven't wrapped my head around the whole thing, to be honest with you. So what's in here is now we have an entrance in and a turnaround, that circle. Is that the fire lane? So that's entirely paved?
I just wanted to mention about the fire lane. Sorry, Josh Sachs with Well Design Studio. We did have talks with Chief Lobby at the CAB, and part of the reason why we're presenting this plan is because this is what we think is approvable by DeKalb Fire. You need to have fire access within 150 feet of all portions of the building. There's really no way to do that without, that's a big block. Without, having some sort of access within the site, there's no way you can meet that requirement. We would love to get creative, but DeKalb is pretty by the books on all things
When this
fire.
was first presented to me, I asked the question because that was what was told to me. There was fire. The conversation with DeKalb never happened. So you can see how I'm getting a little feisty on this one, because it was more of the retail that was told to me than more of the fire lane. And again, 10 RFPs. We sat there and talked to 10 different developers and said we didn't want a road in the middle of this. And then the presentation I received for that concept was no road. And then the first iteration of this, road right through the middle of it. You can see how I see that as a bait and switch?
Is this road usable for anything other than a fire lane?
It does have more than one purpose, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the circle can be used for more than just a fire truck turnaround?
Really, the primary use of it is for retail parking. I mean, it's the most visible spot, because otherwise people would have to go along Ingersoll Rand to get into the parking garage, which, for retail, the biggest thing is parking visibility and ease of access to reach the retail, which, right now the parking garage is already fairly separate from the retail. So I think from a visibility standpoint, it's really difficult if you didn't have that access for people to know how to navigate the site and get to the retail space.
And I can just speak to the fire marshal comment. We have had calls with Chief Larry Labby in particular. I'd invite you to ask him specifically.
That's not the problem I'm having. The problem is I was told that there was no conversation before this iteration was shown to me. It was just a guess at that point.
Whenever we had discussions with you guys, and I'll apologize, this is not an excuse. I personally was not around at our company whenever this was presented to everyone as an RFP. I will say that I think no matter who you have that's trying to do a master development of, I'll back up one, too. I'm not sure the plans that were presented during the RFP process, but whenever we spoke to the majority of you on council, one-on-one sessions that probably like 4 to 6 months ago, the plan that we put in front of you all did have this sort of lunar.
Exactly the conversation I'm referring to. When I asked why is it there, and it was told retail parking plus DeKalb Fire, but the conversation with DeKalb Fire had never happened at that point.
A lot of it was due to getting hold of DeKalb Fire, but we've had multitudes of conversations with him to date after that meeting. Very high level, though, I don't think that anyone that's trying to do a master development of this scale would be able to achieve it without putting some sort of road, as all of our consultants have mentioned. You've got to have something with the local jurisdiction, with DeKalb Fire. You have to have something in order to have what Josh mentioned. I can't, it was like 100 feet from all. Yeah, so I think no matter who brought this to you, they would probably have to do something of this magnitude. It's not ideal, but and there's been so many discussions and plans and whatnot that go into this, and this we felt was the least, I guess, the least impactful or like obtrusive design to solve everything, but also give DeKalb Fire what's needed for this project from a life safety standpoint.
We can go round and round on this. I've said how I feel about it. I still feel like it's a bait and switch.
If I can make one other comment on that. Having it as a requirement for the fire access, understandable. But it's access for fire, and it's also a driveway to a parking deck through an area that's supposed to be heavily trafficked by pedestrians. Cars and people don't mix real well. And that's, I think, our issue. I can see it being as a service area. I can see it being used for deliveries for the restaurants, things like that. But when you make it a driveway, then calling it a pedestrian way it's a bit on the nose. To the point of, people can't find the parking, that's on day one. after 5 years, after a year, after 6 months, if they can't figure out where the parking entrances are, then you have an issue with your signage. Or people are just that incredibly lazy, and quite frankly, Google and Waze have a really good habit of pointing me to driveways. So again, having a driveway through the middle of this, I think is where the heartburn is coming from for Councilman First and I.
I think just to add to that, and we would certainly be open to you guys' suggestions, you know, we do not have a cut through the site, so I do think having some intentionality, some turns, that Woo Nerve is highly lit up with bollards and lighting, and then we have a lot of the like soft area for the pedestrians, really to try and drive that pedestrian traffic like through those like pavered areas. But if there's something that you guys would be open to kind of help soften that, I think using the Woo Nerve, that is a design principle that really is intended to kind of calm the flow of traffic, although we admit that like if you have to get a fire truck through there, you're also going to have to accommodate cars. So we're trying to balance the two. Certainly can understand if that was different from your expectation, but if there's ideas that you have or things that we can bring to the table, we'd definitely be open to that.
I have to hammer this. The issue of fire safety is separate from a driveway to the fire trucks aren't driving into the parking deck. They have to be able to drive through the parking deck. Because I can think of several parking decks in this city that have been built recently that don't have the clearance to get a fire truck through them.
Sure. And I think this comes back to kind of the access point, and because we have that like centralized lawn. The design team is
No.
welcome to jump in here.
So you're saying that the fire trucks will drive into the parking deck?
Yes, they have access through the entire parking lot.
It's, to clarify, and I don't know if there's a way where we can pull up a site plan or something on the screens just to help reference for conversation, but you will have, thank you, just greatly appreciate it. The fire truck will just have access through, it's like a main strip on the ground level, just to be able to have clear, I don't know. That'll work. I mean, it's really just on the level sheet. If you're coming in, you pull it to the side, the fire truck can get out, and it basically cuts right there on that straight strip that goes through the garage and then out to Ingersoll Rand. So that is the only area where the fire truck would go in the parking garage. And clear.
We've done this. Parkview had a circular design, and they had some interest in the middle, and we wanted it to have a mountable curve where the fire trucks could drive over it, but not necessarily everybody else could drive over it, so it wasn't just a flat surface. But the fire department came back and said, we don't want mountable curve, we want it to be just flat and whatever. And so we thought it was a conflict with a pedestrian and everything else conflict, gave the pedestrian a place to go for the ref. So I do have some experience going back and forth with what we want and what the fire department wants. And I know that also changes, just like council changes, people in the fire department change too, so it's always changing. And, but like I said, I don't have the heartburn that others have on this, because again, I see it being more practical from a parking standpoint. But, you know, but I understand their motivation, and I don't necessarily disagree. I just don't know how to accomplish the goal that they want, or I would certainly offer that. The height, I know that's a function of the number of units, the yield, and how many you want to have of those, and the size of the units, and how that works together, which will probably at some point affect the price if the yield goes down too low. So, you know, anyway, it gets, any incentives that may be offered in there, I think that's all kind of, so you start tugging on one thing, you get another, and it keeps pulling and pushing, and we may have to find a happy medium. I don't know where others are, but I just know that I've been doing this long enough. I do understand that it's not always just fix this and it doesn't have like cascading effect on other things. So anyway, that's, I think the design, like the elements and things that Elmer mentioned before, I think that's an easy fix. Some of these other things are harder fixes. But, so anyway, again, I don't know where we are on, and how close we are to the finish line on this. And I know that, anyway, that's it.
So between, you see where the swimming pool is? Is that a corridor there? That's just sidewalk? No, it's not a driveway to the fire lane? The one that goes right angles to the driveway, fire lane.
There is a drive-in there.
They can drive through?
It enters in here.
Basically from the Wooner out.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm seeing it. And you are, I see the striped parking spaces that are pull-in, whatever. And you're saying that there's also going to be, on the circle, there's going to be parking? No parking on the circle? Okay. So, but your lobby leasing building is facing that circle?
It's in one of the renderings, I think it shows it too.
No, I was just going to add one point. The other advantage of having, and I understand where everyone's coming from, the turnaround there and the way we've kind of laid out the site plan is that really allows us to put all of our active uses at the ground floor fronting like the town green space. So our lobby, our leasing, I think there's another color-coded site plan, but literally that entire frontage is all lined with active residential uses. So there's not residential units fronting the town green. It's all, it's our lobby leasing functions, it's our club room, and, it's areas that, allow for that transparency at the ground level for just, a more pedestrian-friendly experience and more active experience at the ground level. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Honestly, I don't have a problem with the parking, with the fire lane going in. And I'm assuming if fire trucks can go through the parking deck and come out on Ingersoll Rand, and so can cars, so that means that there's not going to be some kind of bottleneck, cars backing up and all that kind of stuff. So I see how this works. I like that it looks like you have an archway that is also a visual separation between the stage area, the open event lawn, and the vehicle turnaround and drop-off. It's
at this moment, yes, it's kind of a subtle, you're here, enter into the green space. No major archway, but.
Oh, okay, because I see this in a little circle. I see something that looks like an archway to me, but maybe it's not.
We've got the stage and.
Stage is there, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is,
Yeah, if memory serves, there's a wind tunnel that runs through the main building.
no, what's this right here? What's that?
Mhm.
This. What's that supposed to be?
I guess it is archway. Okay, so you're on the landscape plans. So
Which is, it looks like it's next to the stage, or sort of between the vehicle turnaround and the stage. Which, if that is what that is an archway, that would be a nice visual separation as well. Yeah. And it would also be a separation between the vehicle traffic, visual separation, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And we also have a sidewalk that goes around that turnaround with a bench that people could sit at.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm getting a better idea of this now. There was just a whole lot of visual clutter on the first, the site plan, but now it's making a lot more sense to me. I'm not terribly unhappy with this, honestly. I'm not.
From a traffic flow question on that, if the entry off of Urbandale through the roundabout and out to, through the parking deck out to Ingersoll Rand, that was made, is that currently two-way traffic? Or could it be made to be one-way traffic where you pull in, you pull up, and then you go? That would, the reason why I would be in favor of that is because you just, one less direction you have to look at when you go to cross and stuff, you know, at least you kind of know cars are coming from that direction instead of this way and that way, and especially in the roundabout, they may whip around and be coming right back out the thing, so I don't know if that's.
Just so I understand.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just so I understand your question, the road you're mentioning that you'd prefer or talking about possibly being a one-way, is this or is it?
Going through the traffic circle and then out. And so the only people that would really, I mean, because the people that are already in the parking lot, it's not going to be any problem for them to go that way. And if these were rear angled in parking along the road, some people understand that.
I know, that would be sweet. It would be sweet, but they're not.
That would also point them, you know, go that way and get out of here versus, you know, I mean, I can't see how that would impact you, but in your opinion.
If it's angled parking, you lose space. This is perpendicular parking. You would lose a space or two.
That's not my concern, but anyway, I'm concerned about safety and pedestrian.
Yeah, I hear you.
And trying to minimize, you know, if it's not two-way, that would definitely minimize the amount of cars going through that area, that we don't want any cars going through, but now maybe there's half as many as there would be if it was designed the other way.
I think very high level, the width of that road right there was determined by the cab fire for the fire trucks. But as far as it being one way or two ways, pretty sure the conversation goes back to the retail user, tenant, visitor component, just you guys' information.
I can't see where, again, I use my wife example, I can't say have my wife think that would be a problem for her. She could pull in, she could put back out, she could go, it'd be very intuitive, whatever. She's probably not gonna care that she has to, that she can have the option of going back out onto Urbandale. But I mean, that's just,
Well,
that's
to
just me.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and these are, these parking spaces, people could back out and go around the circle to get out, or go through the parking deck to get out, or they could back out, go this way, and go out onto Urbandale Drive. There is no retail on the pool courtyard side. So it's not like these people are gonna have to cross the street. There's a sidewalk up against the buildings, so that you get out of your car and you go up to the sidewalk, you're not gonna walk in the street like you do in parking lots where there are grocery stores. So I'm not sure that I see that as being, I think having it one way would maybe even add to the number of cars that basically have to go out this way and through the parking
They could have
deck
two-way
as opposed to.
access in and out of the parking lot off of
Anyway,
Ingersoll Rand.
I think that's probably something that's like a minor detail in my opinion.
So.
I think I don't have any other questions, so
On that,
I quit.
if the intention of that traffic circle is not to have the fire trucks to be able to do a turnaround without going through the building, why is it so big? Because to me, it screams of being that big, because that seems much larger.
All right, I just want to set the record straight. The fire truck should not be going through the garage. Fire does not like going through part of the building. Is that the turnaround is sized for a fire truck turnaround? 100%, yeah. That could be a discussion with the city, if it could be signed for visitor usage as one way, but somehow the fire truck could still utilize it both ways. That'd be a discussion we'd have to have with the CAB. We'll do whatever they want, yeah, exactly, yeah.
We good, guys? Y'all good?
There's three other variances here that we probably should discuss. The first one is the power lines variance. They don't want to bury the power lines, mostly because it has to do with the post office. So we need to talk about that. And then also they want a variance from heat reflection on the parking garage.
If I might, the question earlier from Councilmember Mesa and then Councilmember Robson, first about the elevation above sea level. Thank you for your patience on that. I was able to zoom in on the plans and determine that the tall point of the site would be 1,040 feet above sea level. The low end is 10,020, so that's roughly a 20-foot drop. That would be the property falls away from where City Hall is. Given where City Hall sits, which I don't have an accurate understanding of our elevation above sea level, my guess, and it is a guess, is that we would be sitting higher of that as the grade falls away and as the building gets taller. To your question, Councilmember Robson, about the width and area of that tree save, I was able to do some rough calculations. It's roughly about 9,000 square feet, and it is an area of 131 feet by 86 feet at the widest. Did that answer the question that you had there?
I think that it's going to be really hard to save the number of trees that you think you're going to save because those roots go really, really far. And so I would like to see also I'm not going to say replacement plan, but maintenance plan for what you intend to do as these trees die, whether they die from the imposition on their tree roots from this development or whether they die from old age. I would like to know that you have a plan, and as a matter of fact, that you would be introducing some new trees every once in a while so that, you know, they can take over when these trees, before these trees fail. Not when they fail, but before they fail.
We had a number of mature trees in my old subdivision that were encroached upon, but it took them a good 10 years to die.
Well, I had a pine tree fall across the street because the sewer people came within 10 feet of the base of it and cut the roots, and it fell. How long ago did they do the sewers? 4 years ago, and it fell. Fortunately, it was leaning in the right direction, but I mean, that's just, you don't know that that's going to happen. And tree roots, as tall as a tree is, the roots go that far. And the feeder roots are on the very ends, not up close to the trunk. So you're going to be disturbing them. And so so it's going to shorten their lives. That's just the way it is. And I would like to know that there is a succession plan for the trees, okay?
So that we're not here all night, let's wrap this one up, and any other questions or comments, let's take them offline. Unless you have something urgent. You have something urgent?
No, I just wanted to say that we're currently at 1,050 feet above sea level here. So I think that, what did you say that the top of that building was?
The top of the building, well, the grade at where it would start is 1020, so figure 78 feet above that.
We're 30 feet above that.
198 feet would be where the top
Looking at
is.
the fifth floor.
Got it.
If you have anything else, get with Kristen and Matt and try to figure it out. I'll say this, you know, as with many things in life, if not for COVID, we would already be looking out at something really beautiful over there, no doubt in my mind. And it's something that this council really wants to see happen, and I would love to see it come out of the ground quickly and just get it done. But I can tell you, having sat beside all these folks all this time, we don't normally hear this amount of angst from council members. We don't always agree on everything, but this is a bit much. So it tells me that we're probably not quite there yet when I hear this. I want us all to be jumping up and down and celebrating and go out afterwards and have a beer and be happy about what we see across the street. It is, as Councilmember Vice said, it is the centerpiece for our city. And I want us to all feel good about it. So we've, in my opinion, we've got a little bit more work to do to solve some of the angst that I'm hearing.
I do want to say that my angst has been settled. It has. And I can't help but think back on what has been in the past presented for this property. And I think that I do commend you on the use of the interior space in general. We would never have gotten that. That was all going to be a great big parking deck with apartments around it. That's it, period. And so we've certainly come a long way from that. Not that I'm going to say that I want to settle for anything less than the best that we can possibly get. But I think that you've done a very good job with the interior space and with the topography too. You know, I mean, I wanted to see for sale product for housing, but I understand that it's really not possible.
A lot of good stuff in here, but it feels like there's a few things we probably need to tweak or work on a little bit. Just, again. All right, we've got other important stuff on the agenda. John, you want to talk about tattooing eyebrows?
Oh, is it my turn?
It's your turn.
So apparently, our current code treats all tattooing the same, whether it's for these, I guess the term is, Kristen may have to help me out at some point on this, but microblading and stuff like that is still considered tattooing. I think that the state does separate the two kinds of licenses that I'm referring to, and I believe the city attorneys have weighed in on if we could figure out a way to define them and make them separate uses. So I would, if anybody else's, my fellow members can at least exploring the opportunity, having staff invest some time in researching this and get more clarity than I can provide, then that would be awesome. Any questions?
What is permanent makeup?
It's basically tattoos like eyeliner and
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of things.
What's it called when you get the eyebrows done?
Microblading.
Microblading, thank you. I couldn't.
Yeah, and just to add, the issue that we're running into that, that Councilman Mesa is referring to is the lack of differentiation between what is considered cosmetic makeup. So something that or body art, right? Something that a salon can provide a service for, microblading, permanent makeup, versus what would be considered a tattoo parlor. There's not a differentiation in the code. So if you have a salon that provides that service and it's zoned in an area that also allows tattoo services, tattoo parlors, then it's fine. But if it's not, right, and a zoning district allows for a salon, but it doesn't allow for a tattoo parlor, they cannot provide those services. So just for some clarification on the context of this, I haven't done a deep dive on state law versus our local ordinance. Our local ordinance doesn't define cosmetic makeup, cosmetic tattoos, permanent makeup tattoos. But there is some recent changes to state law that do require additional licensure for cosmetologists to provide those services. And so we can explore how that could impact, if you guys are open to that, explore how that could impact our zoning regulations.
It's just like, to me, it's just like the hammer and nails or whatever the situation when we did the drinking there. That's just a unique, another new business concept that I guess everybody's looking to expand their revenues, and they're not looking to become a tattoo parlor. They're looking to, provide this additional services to their current customers. So I think driving down the road, we would probably never know that this was going on, and there wouldn't be, at least from what I've seen, it's not impactful in that way.
A lot of live, work, play apartments that we have here, that's one of the businesses they run out of there is microblading.
Right.
It's very popular.
They would just allow more people to do it. Like I said, it could be just the zoning.
Yeah.
It's just the way the roads and what we allow in certain spaces and other versus others.
Okay. Councilmember First, you have a farmer's market code
Yeah.
discussion?
So
Have what you need to move forward, or do we need this needs to be agenda item, or can you just do this by consent tonight? What do you need to move forward?
If you guys are comfortable with it, I can take the direction from you guys to go. There's no action needed. I think I'm good.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry.
For those that don't know, we have a farmer's market in Chamblee, and I made a promise to that farmer's market to revisit our existing ordinance. We're always excited to welcome new and exciting business in our city, and the farmer's market's no different. We did have a discussion at our retreat over the summer in Athens on farmers markets regarding use of City Hall. There's a lot of discussion we had that went back and forth about for-profit farmer markets versus non-profit farmer markets, because there is a difference between the two, public good versus for-profit, right? SNAP benefits versus for-profit. So with this existing farmers market ordinance, I want to open the conversation to everyone here so we can daylight a little bit of that. One of the things, this farmer market has moved into a NR1 neighborhood, which does not allow, to my understanding, farmer markets in that designation. But with that, I will open up to conversation with council about how they feel about farmers markets and revisiting that ordinance. And Kristen, it looks like you're going to correct me a little bit.
Well, just minor modification. We do allow farmers markets in NR1 zoning.
Yes.
The difference is, so I will, just for clarification on that, farmers markets are the only temporary outdoor sales use allowed in NR1 zoning. And so within our permitted use table, the definitions of farmers market is separate from our temporary outdoor sales permit. Because one, it's got a little bit of additional restrictions on what those required vendors are. For example, I think the definition of our code is, and let me pull it up really quickly here. It's a farmer's market is defined as a sales venue, most often outdoors, and it's seasonal in nature, which producers or their representatives follow state regulations for the offering of locally grown produce, value-added agricultural products, and/or fresh-baked goods produced by the seller or for sale directly to the public, also sometimes called a green market. This is, again, the only temporary type of outdoor sales allowed in NR1. Obviously, it's allowed in multiple places throughout the city, not just NR1, but it is pretty specific to that agricultural or agricultural adjacent type vendor, whereas temporary outdoor sales permit that we would allow in more commercial zoning districts have a little bit of flexibility, but they're also restricted on the number of times they can operate, whereas a farmer's market could operate once a week, every week for a year, 52 weeks. And so there's a little bit of differences there because it is, the definition of a farmer's market truly is a farmer's market versus a different type of market with multiple types of vendors.
Thank you for that qualifying.
So, like many, I was very surprised that we had a farmer's market code in there, and then I was even more surprised that it was allowed in NR1. So the first point of thing that I would want to talk about is I definitely want to put some guardrails around that. I don't want every residential lot to become potentially a farmer's market. I think there's the size of the roads. We have all these road designations, whether they're the feeder street or I can't even remember all the designations, and then I think the size of the lot or the amount of space is probably also a consideration that we can do. And to use the church property as an example, that's several acres that's available. And it's probably, I don't know what Chamblee Dunwoody Road is considered. Matt, do you know that yet? But it has a designation, so that would probably at least put some guardrails, or start to put guardrails around where these things could be located if they are to be maintained in NR1. The second thing is it's a farmer's market, so I think we should definitely limit the amount of I can't remember, you went through the whole laundry list of
Non-agricultural.
agricultural products and value-added agriculture and so on and so forth. You know, limit the number of, I can't even think of what those things, people tied the knots and made the bracelets out of them, the paracord bracelets, or, you know, we don't want to have all that kind of junk in there, or a lot of it anyway. And the last one was, I guess there was some confusion, and maybe Elmer can change, because I think he was involved in the original one, about it can't be on pavement. It has to be in the grass, which I think I'm the opposite, so I was not aware. But I also have, as much as we beat in this life safety and fire thing, I don't, obviously, if a building was to catch on fire, I wouldn't want to have to move 50 easy-ups to allow the fire to service. So I think there needs to be some guardrails that maybe it allows it to be in the parking lot or the road or travel lanes or whatever, but it has to have some approval of how that might happen. And I think that's all I got. I would, hopefully Elmer could weigh in, because he probably has the most knowledge and experience as far as where we are with our current code and and maybe how we could change it or whatever.
Sure, and I think a number of your concerns are indirectly addressed by the code. And like part of it, for instance, is the part that the vendors cannot be located on grass, has to be in the parking area. That's going to play into your NR1 thing, because, you know, my house is NR1, but I don't have a space for, I don't have parking space for people to come, as well as a place for vendors. So something like the church is the prime example of that. Going back in the Wayback Machine, the original Chamblee Farmers Market, what that organization was is now what operates as the Brookhaven Farmers Market over on Dresden Drive. In 2010, former Councilmember Tom Hogan had the idea and put a call out to the community. This was before the annexation of the Dresden East area, before formation of Brookhaven. A number of residents from those areas in particular came together and put it together. I was involved at the beginning of that, because I shop at farmers markets a lot. I'm friends with a number of the farmers at these various markets around town, and I offered my knowledge. The original market was held in the parking lot by Frosty Caboose. This is long before the Peachtree Road reconstruction and all that, and that's where these parking requirements came in, because the other businesses were complaining that all their parking was getting hoovered up by this market on Saturday morning, and people were parking wherever they could find a spot, and it was a big problem. That's why the market ended up leaving downtown Chamblee, because basically they lost their space to do it. And that is a fairly common issue for farmers markets. There's 20 or 30 markets that operate in the metro area. Some of them in churches, some of them in commercial areas. Most of them do have their vendors set up in the parking areas. Again, hard area, when it rains and everything, it doesn't turn into a soupy mess. So again, in that part, I think there's some room to work, having them on the pavement. The city's events permit requirements require a site plan and a safety action plan. All these other markets do the same thing. So even if you do allow them to be on the parking area, they're required having that site plan. In fact, I know when the Brookhaven Market moved from its location on North Druid Hills over to Dresden Drive, and that was during after formation of the city of Brookhaven, they had to go to city of Brookhaven and get a permit for that, and they had to have a review by DeKalb Fire for their layout. So I think all of that can be addressed, and we can, I'm sure, clean that up in our code as well. I can keep going if you guys want to hear it.
No, well, so one of my, you mentioned, and I just kind of thought it was funny, so I don't want you to have a farmer's market in your
Sure.
front yard.
Sure.
So,
Well, again,
and the only place to have it in your driveway, well, that's that kind of self-regulates. But,
Right.
however, so I don't know, does any of my concerns, like, I mean, you said they can be a lane, but I think there's still some tweaking that could be involved, because currently they can't be in.
Our current code says that all the vendors have to be set up not in the parking area. So
Right.
that is something that I think we
Right.
should look at.
And then what
I agree
about
with that.
the road and the minimum lot size and the number of roads that it can be on? Is that
Again,
is that
it's all thing-
problematic?
It shouldn't be. I mean, the reality, when that, again, back to the Brookhaven market, because it's the closest example that I can draw on, when that market did move over to Dresden Drive, to the church right across from the fire station, that butts up to a number of residential areas on the backside, and a lot of those residents did complain about the overflow parking going into that area. I haven't been on the board of that market in a number of years, so I don't know what that noise is like at this point. The market is still there, so I have to think that some level of detente has been reached. But it is a challenge, and most markets have that problem. Morningside Farmers Market was the original farmers market in Metro Atlanta. It was there on North Highland, yes, North Highland across from Alon's Bakery. They moved because finally the neighborhood and the property owners and the business owners just got tired of the traffic mess on Saturday morning. They moved over actually to a church that's off of North Highland to alleviate that issue.
So maybe looking at some of those areas that had problems and taking into account the type of roads and other things available in the area, and put that as the consideration, not just NR1, but, you know, NR1 with a certain size would accommodate that. And so last thing, did you say anything about the mix, the product mix that's
Hadn't gotten there yet. Was saving
Okay,
that.
okay.
I was taking a break, wanted to take it in chunks,
Okay,
didn't want to overwhelm.
If I may, really briefly on the parking, and one, I wanted to clarify, in the actual farmer's market code, it does not allow for a farmer's market on a single-family residential lot. So that's already included in the code definition. The other thing I wanted to mention, and this is, probably need to do a little bit of research on this before I confirm where I'm going with this, but the requirement that a vendor cannot be set up on a required parking spot is also included in our temporary outdoor use permit code section as well. And I think that is probably why there's a little bit of confusion when you apply it to an NR1 zoning category, because downtown, for example, in most of our zoning districts downtown, there is no minimum parking requirement. And so if you are using a space for temporary outdoor sales use, you don't have a parking requirement. Now, your parking requirements go with the use of the site as it is permanently in place. And so, for example, with the church, we can't say that there's no required parking because it's pertaining to the farmer's market, because it's required parking for the church and it's not meeting the minimum parking requirements if you block up those parking spaces with vendors, if that makes sense. So I think the way that you could potentially look at that is tweaking that to having specifically required parking available for a farmer's market, and making sure that there's a set aside for parking spaces so that it's not kind of blending the uses, if that makes sense. Whereas in downtown, it really doesn't matter. But in other more residential type zoning, it probably would.
I'm going to trust you know the problem we're trying to solve, because you really confused me, but that's okay. I don't have to understand.
Does a for-profit versus a nonprofit play into this equation at all, or is it?
So from the standpoint of markets in general, that's not a factor, because you can have in theory, you can have a market that is run for profit that also accepts SNAP benefits, because that's the definition of every grocery store. And if they so desired, could go and apply for Wholesome Wave benefits, so they may not get them. Wholesome Wave is a program run through, it's almost everything. It's funny, but it basically it's a funding operation that doubles the value of SNAP benefits at markets. So for-profit, nonprofit isn't generally factored in, but I will point out that other than one market that recently started in unincorporated DeKalb County, I'm not aware, and the current iteration of the farmers market here in Chamblee, I'm not aware of any markets that are run by for-profit organizations. Most of them are run as a 501c3 or some other nonprofit agency.
That brings up the use of city land, right? Because it would open up to gratuity laws, and we have to bid it out if it was a for-profit, anybody that's for-profit that wants to use city land, unless it's a city partnered event, correct?
I'm going to leave that to her.
Yeah, so if the city has determined that it wants a farmer's market on public land, on City Hall lawn, for example, then it would need to come up with the criteria and then bid out that use because it's a recurring event that's happening and occupying public space on a regular basis.
And that's state law.
It could be interpreted as a gratuity violation.
Got it.
As I've looked at this, there are 1 or 2 cities that have city farmers markets that are run on city property, but they are conducted by city staff. So it's contained within the city organization. Now, what all has gone into that, I don't know, because I didn't dig into their bylaws. So there's that. To answer Mr. Mace's question about the mix of vendors, generally speaking, again, I know this was the case at Brookhaven, I know it's the case with Freedom Farmers Market Morningside, a number of others. They are primarily food-based, agriculture-based businesses. Some markets require that all people selling must be the actual producer. They don't allow resellers. There's Georgia Peach, there's Pearson Peach, they are they are basically a licensed reseller for those orchards. They are not allowed in certain farmers markets in the metro area because the markets require that every vendor be the producer of what's being sold. There's no law on that. That's a conditional thing by the market itself. Food adjacent is allowed. Just about every market at some point has someone who does knife sharpening. Again, food adjacent, bring your kitchen knives, get them sharpened up while you're there. In general, most markets will have a very small percentage of non-food vendors, and they'll often rotate them through. Most of the markets, it's 1 or 2 vendors that'll have craft goods, things like that. Some markets will do a holiday market, so obviously in this time of year they may have where there's 5 or 6 or 10, depending on the size of the market. Some of these markets are only 15 or 20 vendors. Some of these markets are 50 vendors. So saying that's 5% of your vendor total as a non-food.
And the seasonality of that, I'm sure,
And
it's a special use permit
Yeah,
that comes with that.
and again, it's a scaling thing.
Yeah.
I know at Brookhaven, when I was on the board, we always did do the holiday market, usually the 2 weekend, well, they were seasonal, they ended at Thanksgiving, so it was usually the market or 2 before Thanksgiving. Freedom Market allows a few more vendors, because they're a year-round market during December. But it's a dare I say, vanishingly small percentage of their vendors that are non-food.
So Kristen, do you see a path where, talking about seasonal items, temporary use items, that maybe it's not on, that somebody could piggyback on, say, a farmer's market license holder or whatever that is, and then they could come in. So we don't have a whole bunch of stuff, but we do allow some like seasonal things come in at certain times. Well, they're going to be, if they have to come in every so often, or they're only allowed to have these permits for X amount of weeks or whatever. I mean, is there a way? And then they would have to come in and apply through us that we'd say, you're over your limit, rather than having to go out and like conduct an audit. I mean, I don't want to get into that business of monitoring a farmer's market. I want to be like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Or you can ask me a question.
I think I do. And what I have seen is, for example, you could say 85 or 75% of the vendors, this is just theoretical, right, of the vendors have to be for agricultural adjacent type of activity, and seasonally, that delta, whatever that is, whatever that number is that you determine, that percentage that is non-specific to agricultural related products, has to be approved by planning and development staff. You could do something like that, and because it might change out seasonally. For example, you might have an up to amount, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wanted to know how it would be administered. Would it be through some sort of permitting process, or would they be like field audits?
No.
Unless I'm not interested in doing field audits and having.
My recommendation on that, if it's a seasonal change of a non-agricultural type of vendor, right, that they, for example, if, the fall season ends and it's winter and, maybe there's some amount of percentage of vendors that, can be non-agricultural, then they would just get that approval from the Planning and Development Department as part of the existing permit.
Got it.
I wouldn't necessarily want to see it, I would like to see people be able to make earrings and sell them, or crochet hats and sell them, a percentage of a farmer's market offering. I don't want to see flea markets. I don't want to open the door to potential to have flea markets. But I do think that some crafts would be, a certain percentage would be a viable offering to do it, handmade stuff. And in fact, we had, when that farmer's market was in the parking lot of Frosty Caboose, we did have somebody that made crocheted items that were for sale and stuff like that. So,
That was Ida Beth. I know who you're talking about. Her name's Ida Beth. I think she's still around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also keep in mind, looking at that market, that was, and I mean no disrespect to the people that made it happen, but that was a thrown together market. It was planned in 2.5 months, and it should have been a year.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a case where the idea makers didn't really have a handle on what it was they were pitching.
Mhm. Well, I think that as far as the parking situation goes with the church or whatever, that, they've got to be good-sized parking lot. They've got, all of that kind of stuff. So maybe the ratio of parking, I mean, they don't have required. The ratio of parking could be delineated and tied to the number of vendors.
Yeah, I think we can probably do some research, see what other, maybe potentially what other codes might have. Just the way that ours is it ties it into that temporary outdoor use permit. And so that's going to tie it to the building use permit, or building use that is existing on that property. And so we can probably look at some different code options that would accommodate the parking issue.
Yeah, my only consideration for the parking is just life safety. I don't care if they underpark their market or whatever. I mean, that's just a business decision at that point, but I definitely am concerned about life safety. Kristen, you said one thing that caught my ear was you said farmers markets aren't allowed on residential lots or something to that effect.
Single-family residential lots. Single-family, like a
So what-
single-family house cannot have a farmer's market in front of it.
But is it, the code gets that granular? I mean, I thought it just said NR1, but it says single family. I mean, what if it's in a vacant lot, like somebody knocked down their house? Is that a single family lot then? I mean, that's what that's why I kind of.
That's where it gets tied to the use.
Right.
But, I mean, you do have commercial properties in R1 zoning, right?
Do we? If you say so.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, I mean, the church is a commercial use. It's not a single-family residential house, right? And so you do have other types of properties in R1 that are not just single-family residential properties.
Yeah, that one's unique because that church has been there for 200 years, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I was, again, the size and the road that it's on, and other is I think is important
Yeah.
as that single family, because there was a lot of confusion about what all the different layers to this current code had. I'm also cognizant, like, we don't want to lay too many other layers that it can't be like looked at and go, and you have to have a law degree to, interpret that code. So that's the road and the lot size kind of
Yeah.
it's very,
Yeah.
it's
and
very established, in other
Also,
words.
the current code does stipulate that farmers markets shall be permitted only on lots that have access to paved parking with a curb cut.
That's pretty cut and dry.
All right, so what's the call?
Do you have enough direction to move us forward?
To make some,
I think I can come up with some options and some thoughts. I can put a memo together, circulate it to y'all, and then if you want to move forward with putting it on agenda for future purposes to amend the code, we can do that. So.
Seems like a lot of this could be solved with best practices from other cities or something.
Certainly.
I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel.
And just to level set for all those listening at home, it takes us a long time to craft new ordinances, usually about 6 months. So I just ask for everybody's grace as we work through this.
Well, even after I have it written, it takes two. Anyway,
Yeah,
for
the
2 months, 2 to 3 months.
The research usually takes the longest part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so codify it.
Apparently we have time since she's not open now.
All right, that takes us down to public comments. And I'll read the rules of order. The mayor is the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body, not to individual members. Anyone wishing to speak shall come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk. Limit remarks to 3 minutes unless further time is granted by council. Not speak a second time until everyone wishing to speak has spoken once, and no one can speak more than twice. And please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. And this is an opportunity for anyone from the community to come up and speak on any subject, any zoning matter. We will vote on these items on Tuesday, so if anybody has anything to say about anything we've talked about, come on up. It can be a resident of Chamblee, Brookhaven, don't matter. Anybody got anything to say tonight?
Entertain us.
Come on up.
I'm the timekeeper, and it can be very abrupt when I say stop. So if you get to 3 minutes and you hear me say that, I'll try to be nice, but it can be jarring.
Sure, I'm gonna do a magic trick. Watch how fast I do this.
All right.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, City Council members. My name is Emily Spence, and I'm a proud member of Chamblee here. I'm a resident. I truly appreciate everything that Chamblee has to offer and how intentional Chamblee City Council has been about creating growth and welcoming everyone in the community. I'm a local realtor, and I've been privileged to help individuals and families plant roots. One of the things that I've learned is that long-term roots also have to do with having community and connection. For many of us, having a church family is also a big part of that. I wanted to share that I am a member of a non-denominational church that I attend. It's called Mountain West. It's also opening a new location nearby, and they're having soft launch gatherings. I just wanted to mention that to everyone in the group. And the first soft launch will be December 14th at 10:30. It's a great church, so I advise you get there early. The soft launches will be from December 14th, every Sunday going forward and thereafter. The official launch will be January 11th at the same time, 10:30. Great place to go for community, and I thought this might be meaningful to anyone in Chamblee who's been looking for a home church or a community connection. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out tonight. Appreciate it.
Magic.
Anyone else wishing to address council this evening? Good evening. Good.
My name's Paulina. I am behind the farmer's market. I'm sure most of you I've already met and all of that, but I apologize. I am very nervous, so I will do my best to not get cut off at 3 minutes. But I just want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart, just for sitting down and talking about the market today. And I truly, truly mean that. It just means the world. And I trust no matter what decision you all come to, it's going to be the right one. And I've had conversations with almost all of you at this point, and thank you just for taking that time as well. And honestly, being here today has been wonderful, and I apologize I was late. I got my days confused. But I really don't have anything other than that to say. I just want to say thank you, and whatever decision you do make, I'm on board with. So, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address council this evening? All right, seeing none, do we have executive session?
Unfortunately, we do.
Oh, no.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. We enter into executive session to discuss matters related to real estate and pending litigation.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor? All right, that is unanimous.
Marathon. We have to head to executive session. Oh, yeah, it's fine. My pleasure. I told you I was going to take care of it, yeah.
Oh, Natalie hasn't
I respect your authority, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to exit executive session.
Second.
A motion and a second to exit executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're out.
R.
For adjourned.
Can we say I or R? R.
R says the monkey.
So I think we've eliminated most of our choices,
Yeah, I don't
except
think
for
Mosaic.
Mosaic.
Yeah.
Except for what?
Mosaic still open.
They're open till 11, I found out.
It's off,
Yeah,
it's over,
you
it's
would-
off Malone.
Yeah, you would go, you would, if you're walking or driving? Well, then and I'm probably riding with you, but you would go down, you would come off Peachtree Boulevard onto Malone, and then turn right in.